Our book today in the Thom Hartmann Book Club is Stand Up, Struggle Forward by Sanyika Shakur. This is a book that was written back in the late 90s, but it's still very, very timely. This is from the second chapter titled Class Antagonisms Inside the Fundamental Contradiction of National Oppression. Having just passed the 19th and quickly approaching the 20th anniversary of the LA Rebellion, we should be reminded here of what Rodney King whimpered as he stood in front of a bank of microphones surrounded by class enemies and neo-colonial politicians. We should remember how he'd been dressed in that non-threatening cardigan sweater, white shirt, and black tie, how his hair had been tortured into submission by a jerry curl. We should reflect as well upon how timid and spooked he looked, and on how concerned and stern those who flanked him were as well. That was a Kodak moment. It was staged to foster an image of contrition and resignation, submission, a victim. Rodney King had been led to believe, through a bourgeois sense of reasoning, that the rebellion was really about him, that the reason new Africans and Mexicanos took to the streets of South Central was the result of his filmed beating. That, of course, is typical of mechanical bourgeois thinking. What it's not typical of, however, is someone from the hood. And this cuts both ways. No one in the hoods and barrios ever thought it was about Rodney King. We'd all seen the film over and over like everyone else, but that was par for the course. We'd always seen that, long before anybody caught it on tape. Actually, we'd experienced much more than that. Why, it's safe to say that the hoods had gone to war with each other in vicious waves of internal, intra-class combat for much less than that, though because of a general colonial mentality which prevents the challenging of bottom-up oppression, the same hood forces will not, in any systemic way, wage war on the pigs, or for freedom, land, and socialism. Rodney King alone and of his own accord would not have thought to hold a press conference to ask the asinine question in the form of a whimpering request, can't we just all get along? The fact of the matter is, we are getting along. New Africans and Mexicanos are getting along just fine. What we couldn't understand was why he was admonishing us for getting at the exploiters of our communities. The impression he gave, with his handler's hands up his back like a ventriloquist troll, was that a race riot was going on, as if we had all begun to kill each other or burn and rob each other's homes. His handlers compelled him to send up a false flag, a diversion. But you see, this was the very thing that exposed the class interests and reactionary politics of the Uncle Toms that had been designated to handle him, and by extension, us. Let's go back for a minute. Let's talk social development, aka history. There exists a fundamental contradiction in our lives that, like an elephant in the room, no one wants to acknowledge. As a consequence of the war waged upon various African nations by European powers, those of us captured and kidnapped were taken out of our own self-determining social developments and violently forced into Euro-American history. This is not simply a clever play on words. This is a reality. We lost the ability to control our own destiny. Read that again. From that time until now, the fundamental basic contradiction between the U.S. oppressor nation and our own oppressed and colonized nation has been the governing imperialist relationship, which is to say, us not being in control of the qualitative factors that determine our lives as a people, as a nation. Our tradition of struggle against this fundamental contradiction has taken many forms, some hidden or obscured, some open and hostile. But all of these have been open to resolve the fundamental contradiction and to regain our independence. While there have been some bona fide struggles to resolve the contradiction, there have also been reactionary neocolonial struggles waged by internal enemies loyal to the oppressor nation and culture that have tried time and time again to subvert and control our destiny for the benefit of the capitalists. They've come among us, always imposed from above, stirring up emotions and giving lip service to progress, equality, justice, and prosperity. These always within the colonial confines of the oppressor's arrangements, and none collectively ever materialize, because without a resolution of the fundamental contradiction, that is the freeing of our productive forces from U.S. imperialism and the governing of our own affairs, we'll remain a minority within the American system as opposed to a majority in our own, and subjected to the established bourgeois social contract, i.e. colonialism, neo and post. We can parade all through the empire with black congressmen, black mayors, black governors, black police chiefs, black Supreme Court justices, hell, even a black president. And absolutely nothing will alter the genocidal relationship that governs our national oppression here, because the blacks are part of the colonial apparatus. They have made a strategic alliance with the capitalist imperialists to act as go-betweens in our oppression and exploitation. This is a conscious class stand. The black petty bourgeois is not innocently confused, like, say, Mrs. Jackson across the street is, about our national oppression, about the existence and subjugation of New Africa. They are well-read, have traveled in our experience. They've just chosen sides against us and in favor of our historical enemies. And the sooner we recognize and internalize this, the better off we'll be. Black ain't nothing but a color. As a designation of our national identity, it has played out. It is a superficial understanding at best and a foolish and dangerous analysis at worst. We have no collective control over the qualitative factors which determine our lives. We do not, in other words, control our destiny, not as a people or a state. The book is Stand Up, Struggle Forward by Sanyika Shakur.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at hellofresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info is available at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. EasyFlow, personal air filtration system. Fresh air anywhere. More info at easyflowusa.com, code TOM. Masterclass with world-class instructors. More info at masterclass.com/Hartman. And Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com.
We say fight back!
It's a tough time for democracy right now, and that is, of all the reasons out there, that more than anything else is why it's so critical that progressive media continue on the air. If you are watching this right now, odds are that you've seen and you haven't called Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. Odds are you've seen a whole bunch of these essentially pitches, these requests to support Free Speech TV. And maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you've been wondering, can I do it? Should I do it? Are they going to sell my name or my email address? Am I going to get spam? Let me put your mind to rest. Free Speech TV doesn't share their donor list with anybody. It's right there. That's it. Free Speech TV will treat you, you're not going to get spam from Free Speech TV. They do have an email newsletter that's fascinating. It comes out, once or twice a week, it seems. If you don't want to get it, you can just click unsubscribe and it won't come any longer. But if whatever your concern or objection that has caused you not to call up to this point, I'm trying to imagine what it might be so I can answer it, so I can encourage you to please call today, right? Please call right now, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fund drive really moving along. And perhaps there are other reasons why people might be reluctant or unwilling to make a donation to a progressive television network. If you know of one, let me know, and I'll address it on the air. And in these requests, but your privacy will be respected. you know, it's everything. It's very straightforward. Free Speech TV it's not owned by anybody else. It's not part of some giant conglomerate. It's not like, you know, giving your address information to a big, you know, to one of the big telemarketing firms. None of that is going to happen. And in fact, you know, when you call and make your donation, you may well even be talking to a volunteer or an employee of Free Speech TV. So please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need your feedback, we need your contributions, we need your help, or at least Free Speech TV does. And thus, I would say indirectly, this program as well. I don't want to see this television network go away. I mean, who would, right? So please call now. It's progressive media. It's important. Please call now and help Free Speech TV stay on the air, help Free Speech TV grow. In fact, wouldn't that be a great thing? There's so much potential here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we could use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, you know, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. With a $120 gift, there is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, you know, waving the bloody shirt, you know, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book. And I encourage you with a $120 gift to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice t-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker, the University bumper sticker, the Free Speech bumper sticker, the Pride sticker, the Real Change tote bag, the Wilmington on Fire DVD, and the Thom Hartmann program mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and hang out with us, you know, and I'll buy you lunch. There's a little restaurant down the street here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we could use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, you know, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. with a $120 gift. There is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, waving the bloody shirt, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book. And I encourage you, with a $120 gift, to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice T-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. For the $360 gift, there's the Tom Hartman University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, happy Wednesday. Thom Hartmann here with you, and we've got a lot to talk about today. Alex Lawson is going to be with us in our third hour to talk about how, this is mind-boggling, but the Social Security Administration and Medicare is still being run by Trump appointees who are trying to destroy Social Security and Medicare. What's going on here? We'll talk to Alex about that in our third hour. In our second hour, Julia Rock is going to be with us with the Daily Poster newsletter, or actually it's becoming a news organization now, about hiding the union busters. This is rather alarming. And we've got an amazing crazy alert for you in the second hour. But I want to start out by talking about, the whole variety of kind of news stuff today. But I want to start out by talking about right-wing bullying. And I think this is actually a big deal that doesn't get discussed anywhere near enough. There are some kinds of behaviors that essentially have the ability to become contagious. I mean, the one that most people are familiar with is suicides among adolescents. Very often one kid commits suicide in a school, and a month later another one does. It's something that has concerned educators and parents for a long, long time. And I think that bullying falls into that same category. For example, we had a bully for a president for 4 years, Donald Trump. And this is a guy who gets pleasure from bullying people, from stripping power away from people. He's going after, fill in the blanks, right? E. Jean Carroll and everybody else. And bullies just delight in this. This is the sort of thing that they are just totally into. And it's a problem for America right now because presidents tend to establish national norms. And I don't know if we can go to camera one, Nate. John Kennedy, for example, established like this kind of optimistic national norm. And people even imitated his hairstyle, right? If you're old enough to remember JFK. Jimmy Carter made it fashionable to be a thoughtful, compassionate Christian and an energy geek. He was a nuclear scientist. Literally, Jimmy Carter was a nuclear scientist. Bill Clinton turned us all into policy wonks. George W. Bush transformed himself from, an AWOL draft dodger into a warrior, bringing the country along. And Barack Obama established this tone of thoughtful, elegant inclusion and diversity that was celebrated around the world. At every step, and you can find this as you go throughout history, presidents, as kind of the father or mother, well, we haven't had a female president yet, but as the parent figure for the country, tend to establish the tone and style. And so then we get a bully. And now we've discovered what happens when you have a bully as president of the United States. And, just to put it in a very straightforward fashion, Trump, within months of Trump being elected, we were seeing studies showing that bullying in schools was going up. Right? And then, excuse me, I just had a computer weirdness here.
And then, you had bullies like Mitch McConnell come out. This is a direct quote from Mitch McConnell. Quote, "One of the proudest moments in my life was when I looked Barack Obama in the eye and I said, Mr. President, you will not fill that Supreme Court vacancy." Really? I mean, this is what we're seeing in this whole spectrum of bullies, the whole Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz bullies. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene bullying AOC and other members of the Democratic caucus. You've got these Karens, male and female, or Karens and Kens, or whatever the male term is, around the country, finding new validation during the Trump administration in their efforts to bully, in particular, people of color. Trump's bullying use of the phrase China virus has led to a wave of actual violence against Asian Americans, AAPI Americans. And now trans children are on the receiving end of Republican bullying. And those people with bullying tendencies, in fact, were even drawn to January 6th, right? The guys who love guns and bullying. I mean, the ultimate bullying event, arguably, was January 6th, when they showed up at the U.S. Capitol and tried to bully us into keeping Donald Trump as president. And, one of the things that I really celebrate about President Joe Biden is that he doesn't seem to have a bullying bone in his body. He's a thoughtful, compassionate, considerate guy. So what do you do with these Republican bullies? One piece of conventional wisdom, what do you do to a bully? You punch him. In other words, kind of fight back or become a bully yourself. I think, though, that a better way of defining how you deal with bullies, particularly when you have power, is through something in childcare referred to as logical consequences, or limit setting. It's basically you say, okay, I get it, you're foaming at the mouth. Here's the limit. When you step over this line, there will be consequences. And this appears to be the biggest challenge of the Biden administration, is establishing these limits. And particularly problematic is apparently the Justice Department is still filled with bullies that Donald Trump put there, or at least that Bill Barr put there. I mean, just consider this. The Justice Department just announced, this was in yesterday's Washington Post. This is the headline. I mean, the headline kind of says it all. Justice Department says it will vigorously, in quotes, vigorously, defend religious schools' exemption from anti-LGBTQ discrimination laws. In other words, religious schools are saying, because our 2,000-3,000-year-old book, our interpretation of that book says that you shouldn't be gay or, trans or anything else. Therefore, they're saying, we can discriminate against such folks. That's our religion. And we're talking about actual federal dollars. This is schools that are taking your tax dollars, saying that they have the religious right to discriminate with your tax dollars. And the Justice Department just announced yesterday, we are going to vigorously defend that right. What the hell? And then, 3 days ago, they came out and said, oh, yeah, Donald Trump, being accused of rape by E. Jean Carroll, and his defense was, she's not my type, I wouldn't bother raping her. Oh, yeah, it literally was his defense. He called her a liar, so she sued him for defamation for his calling her a liar, and now the Justice Department is saying, we're going to defend Trump, too. What the hell? And then Bill Barr bullies Congress, saying, well, Robert Mueller put together this report and designed it to be made public, right? I mean, Justice Department lawyers on the Mueller team just combed through that thing before they gave it to Bill Barr to make sure that everything in it could be made public. There was no classified information in it. And what does Bill Barr do? He just redacts the hell out of it. Have you seen an unredacted version yet? No, neither have I. Why? Well, it's going to reflect very poorly on Trump. When Merrick Garland came in as the head of the Justice Department had been wiretapping reporters. They kept doing it. And now down in Arizona, and it looks like it's going to spread to Pennsylvania and Georgia someday soon, you've got Republicans who are being financed with dark money, I'll get to that in a minute, who are continuing to violate federal law. I mean, this is a law that you go to prison for. You're not supposed to, states are not supposed to hand ballots to anybody who's not authorized within 22 months of an election. And yet they're doing it. I mean, Chuck Schumer is letting himself get bullied by Republicans, well, Biden for that matter. I mean, they've spent months negotiating with Republicans on this infrastructure bill. When, Mitch McConnell told him at the very beginning, no way, no Republican's ever going to vote for it. They finally said, okay, Shelley Moore Capito, yesterday, she's not negotiating in good faith, so let's negotiate with another Republican. Come on, guys. Have the bullies won? I mean, how do you deal with bullies? And then the carrots and sticks that now we are finding out the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Koch network are pouring carrots on Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin and probably other Democratic senators, as well as the stick of, we will run ads against you. No carrots and sticks, apparently, from the administration.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
I mean, we have to ask, have the bullies won, or is Biden going to finally start imposing limits and logical consequences on this behavior? And welcome back. Hang on just a second here. Here we go. All righty, Maverick in Edmonds, Washington. Hey, Maverick, you want to talk about bullies?
I'm starting off the show. Good morning. And
morning.
Fox is not news. So, God, the Christian God is the ultimate bully, Tom. If you look at Leviticus here, lately, this guy was awful.
Yeah.
Why don't we see any Amalekites anymore or Midianites? That's where it comes from. It validates it right there. And in that book called the Bible, where we have this imaginary creator deity that gives people a guideline as to how to live their lives. There you go.
Well, the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me, is kind of the ultimate bully statement, I suppose. Although, many religions kind of seem to get stuck there. But I get your point. And so are you suggesting that we have all been basically trained, at least all of us who were raised in Christianity or Judeo-Christian tradition, or which would include Islam as well, that we've all been trained from childhood to accept bullying from authority figures since we've accepted it from the authority figure of God?
Well, it's not trained, conditioned, and at least told that
Conditioned
it's okay. At least told it's okay. Because these are it's the ultimate totalitarianism. It's like you're supposed to spend your whole time worshiping this guy. It's like a celestial North Korea. The only difference is, at least in Korea you can die and escape from it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Drawing a parallel between the some aspects anyway, the biblical God and Kim Jong-un. Who proclaims, he asserts that he's God.
Well, right. And that's why, you think people will say, well, people blame God or gods for all these wars and deaths, but what about Kim Jong-un and Stalin and these other guys? Well, they were thought of as a god. Or what's his name? Hito
Stalin outlawed religion. It was actually Lenin outlawed religion, but so what fills that space? Some new secular authority figure, in this case, the Communist Party.
Because a lot of people feel comfort if there's a big daddy up in the sky watching out for them. Yeah. I mean, hell, if it was true, that'd be great. And I'm open-minded, but I just don't see any evidence. If tonight there's a constellation in the sky, a new one that says Jesus, well, I'll rethink my position. But until then, I'm a secular humanist, and I'll be kind to people because that's what I believe in.
There you go.
Thanks, Tom.
Maverick, thanks a lot for the call. Incredible. How do you deal with bullies? How most effectively
should this administration be dealing with bullies? We'll be right back. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmanReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmanReport.com.
So, you know, we have our regular newsletter that you can find over at TomHartman.com that has Sue's Daily Stack in it, which lists a link to every article, every story that I talked about on, you know, whatever it may be on the program that day. And then there's also my daily rant, which can come into your email box. No advertisements, no cost, over at HartmanReport.com. In addition to that, we have a weekly video that we post over at TomHartman.com for people who, you know, are supporters of our program. And the one this week is particularly fascinating. A federal judge has said that Betsy DeVos has to come in and sit for a 3-hour deposition. Now, the Biden Justice Department said former cabinet secretary shouldn't have to do this. And the judge said, no, the record keeping was so shoddy during the Trump administration. So what's up next? Well, let's hope it's Bill Barr being dragged before a court. You can check it all out at TomHartman.com.
And welcome back. You know, let me just lay a little bit of this, kind of expand on what I was just ranting about. First of all, the Hunter v. U.S. Department of Education, when I said the Justice Department is going to vigorously defend religious schools, that's like before the courts, right? This is grim. McConnell, now, why would the Republican Party so strongly push hanging on to the filibuster? Well, clearly, you know, it works for the Republicans. If they can prevent Democrats from getting anything done, then what happens? In particular, what happens to young voters who are just coming into politics and are seeing lots and lots of trolls on social media who are saying, oh, both parties are the same, and you can't, you know, Democrats never get anything done. And, you know, just don't bother even voting, right? You know, I mean, this was the principal message of the Russian trolls in the 2016 election. Both parties are the same. So these young people, if nothing really consequential gets done, they start thinking, well, yeah, okay, maybe both parties are, screw this voting stuff. I'm going to go party. I mean, why vote in midterms, right? Republicans also benefit because their policies are unpopular. 68% of Americans want a public option, the ability to buy Medicare. Well, as long as the Republicans can block any kind of forward motion in Congress, they maintain the status quo. The status quo is actually good from their point of view. If they can prevent expanded, funding, if they can prevent any expansion of Social Security and Medicare, if they can prevent any expansion of any kind of social safety net programs, that's just fine with them. I mean, they've got a status quo that has been largely shaped by a bunch of Republican presidents who didn't even win the majority vote. George W. Bush didn't win the majority vote in America. Donald Trump didn't win the majority vote in America, yet they have reshaped our political landscape. Meanwhile, to this ballot, so-called ballot audit, this fraudit is increasingly what people are calling it. Turns out the Arizona State Legislature appropriated $150,000 to pay for this thing. That was nothing. They probably burned through $150,000 in the first week. This is costing millions of dollars. Where is that money coming from? The Guardian has a great piece today. Arizona ballot audit backed by secretive donors linked to Trump's inner circle. Republicans in the Arizona State Senate, which authorized the inquiry, allocated the $150,000. And then it goes on, at least $150,000 additional came from Voices and Votes, which is a 501c4 run by Christina Bobb, who conveniently is an anchor over at One America News Network, who is constantly plugging the Arizona fraudit. L. Lynn Wood, the pro-Trump attorney behind a whole bunch of lawsuits with his nonprofit Fight Back, has donated to this. Patrick Byrne, the former chief executive of Overstock.com and an ardent Trump supporter. I'm
reading here from The Guardian, is also leading a group funding the effort. In April, Burns' nonprofit, the America Project, launched a Fund the Audit campaign trying to raise $2.8 million. Burns says he contributed $1 million himself to the effort. And at least another $900,000 has come from unknown sources. He's also in the past has served as chief of another dark money group involved in this thing called Defending the Republic. And and then Arizona State Representative Mark Fickham claimed that his group, Guardian Defense Fund, it's another 501c4, is, quote, paying money for additional security at the site. He told Steve Bannon this on the radio. Bullying America. And these guys, frankly, they're bullying the Justice Department. What they are doing in Arizona right now is a violation of federal law. You are not, the state is not to release, and you as a private citizen are not to touch a ballot or a voting machine within 22 months after an election unless you are specifically authorized to do so by federal election officials. I mean, these people could be put in prison today. The FBI could go in and shut this thing down tomorrow, and should. But, the bullying seems to work, and that's distressing. Over on the right-wing media, the new bullying, now they're going after Kamala Harris and black people. I'll tell you about that. Actually, I've got a lot of information about that, so I'll dig into that in the second half of our second hour today, because it is just what is going on here is alarming. And I get, I want to give the Biden administration a lot of credit. They have changed the national tone. They have, largely fixed so far the virus problem, although, some of these variants are starting to make all of us very nervous. And they're moving the country in a positive direction. But Biden's going off to Europe to proclaim democracy, while here in America, Republicans are kneecapping it.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Great piece in this morning's Financial Times about how European leaders intend to confront him on that. How can you come here and promote democracy when you've got an entire political party in your own country tearing it down? It's a tough time for democracy right now, and that is, of all the reasons out there, that more than anything else is why it's so critical that progressive media continue on the air. If you are watching this right now, odds are that you've seen and you haven't called Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. Odds are you've seen a whole bunch of these essentially pitches, these requests to support Free Speech TV. And maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you've been wondering, can I do it? Should I do it? Are they going to sell my name or my email address? Am I going to get spam? Let me put your mind to rest. Free Speech TV doesn't share their donor list with anybody. It's right there. That's it. Free Speech TV will treat you, you're not going to get spam from Free Speech TV. They do have an email newsletter that's fascinating. It comes out, once or twice a week, it seems. If you don't want to get it, you can just click unsubscribe and it won't come any longer. But if whatever your concern or objection that has caused you not to call up to this point, I'm trying to imagine what it might be so I can answer it, so I can encourage you to please call today, right? Please call right now, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fund drive really moving along. And perhaps there are other reasons why people might be reluctant or unwilling to make a donation to a progressive television network. If you know of one, let me know, and I'll address it on the air. And in these requests, but your privacy will be respected. you know, it's everything. It's very straightforward. Free Speech TV it's not owned by anybody else. It's not part of some giant conglomerate. It's not like, you know, giving your address information to a big, you know, to one of the big telemarketing firms. None of that is going to happen. And in fact, you know, when you call and make your donation, you may well even be talking to a volunteer or an employee of Free Speech TV. So please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need your feedback. We need your contributions. We need your help, or at least Free Speech TV does. And thus, I would say indirectly, this program as well. I don't want to see this television network go away. I mean, who would, right? So please call now. It's progressive media. It's important. Please call now and help Free Speech TV stay on the air, help Free Speech TV grow. In fact, wouldn't that be a great thing? There's so much potential here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we can use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, you know, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. With a $120 gift, there is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, you know, waving the bloody shirt, you know, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book, and I encourage you with a $120 gift to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice t-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker, the University bumper sticker, the Free Speech bumper sticker, the Pride sticker, the Real Change tote bag, the Wilmington on Fire DVD, and the Thom Hartmann Program mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and hang out with us, you know, and I'll buy you lunch. There's a little restaurant down the street. We always go there, and it's very nice. It's got a nice view and pretty reasonable food, actually, of all kinds. Bottom line, call now, 877-378-8669. If you haven't yet called Free Speech TV, please pitch in now. Give them a call, 877-378-8669. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. or wild-caught fish. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, 35 minutes past the hour. This whole situation with bullying. I don't think I'm a bully. I don't think I've ever. In fact, I was the victim of bullying as a child, and which is probably one of the things that has sensitized me to it. Kid down the street, his name was Dennis, he used to just beat the crap out of me periodically, and it was not pleasant. This is when I was like 10 years old, and I still remember it. It was tough, and so is Merrick Garland being bullied, or is he in league with the bullies? I mean, what's going on at the Justice Department? This really concerns me. And then, of course, there's the whole right-wingosphere and these bullies on, right-wing radio and television. It just kind of oozes out of there. Oh, we're the tough guys here. Yeah. Morris in Long Beach, California. Hey, Morris, thanks for calling. What's on your mind today?
You know what trips me out about Fox News? The Capitol Police put together an advertisement to let the world know what was going on and what took place on January the 6th and what they went through. And Fox News refused to run that advertisement. Okay, they call themselves favoring the blue, but the blue is not of all one opinion, and they refused to run that ad. And I'm going to tell you something, Professor. We need to recognize who we're dealing with and where these people are coming from. They don't give a rat's backside about the success of this country. They're straight out to just to tear it down. It's just to tear it down. And it's hard for us to accept that. It's really difficult for us to accept that.
They do not believe in democracy, Morris. They believe in oligarchy and autocracy.
Well, what gets me is how they can manipulate the common man. President Johnson once said that if you can convince the lowest white man that he is better than the highest black man, then he will allow you to pick his pocket. And that makes me think of the corporate tax rate, how it went down from 92 to 27%, and of course Ronald Reagan really took it over the cliff. But, Professor, what I'm concerned with is we can't have media like Fox talking to our people every day, getting them all pumped up with this indifferent spirit. Hell, we're one country, and they treat us like if you're from a blue state, you're supposed to be anti-arrest. We're one country, my brother. So something's got to be done about them guys on TV. Maybe Black Lives Matter can get some signs together, start protesting in front of their business, because they really, Professor, I believe they can tear us up. They really, and we were very fortunate on January the 6th. You let one congressional person get killed, okay, there's suspension of habeas corpus there. It's over now, okay? So we're really teetering on some serious stuff here, man. So we got to do something about them guys talking on the TV like that, So you read, you're an intellectual, you're smart. But most people don't have your reading muscles. They're not as smart as we are. So it's easy to persuade them. They become echo chambers. But it's dangerous, my brother. It's straight up dangerous. It really is.
I agree, and it concerns me tremendously. And, I obviously, we have a First Amendment. Government is not going to do anything about this. Perhaps regular protests. Occupy Fox News or occupy the street in front.
I like it.
Yeah. But where do we go? What do we do with this? It's a tough one. Anyhow, thank you, Morris. Thank you, Morris. Spot on. Good talking with you. Paul in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, Paul, what's up?
Well, Tom, I think the Republican bullies are bullying themselves right into a balkanized country, which is not necessarily a good result for them.
Which is what they've wanted since the 1860s.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's not, they're going to be the dog that caught the bus. And my suggestion, of course, is always one great way for the dog to catch the bus is if the bus slams on its brakes, right? The dog just rear ends it. That's what I've always suggested. And unfortunately, when I make these suggestions, some of our progressive caucus members like Ro Khanna and Mark Pocan, they don't get it. This country is coming apart. And it's not coming in apart, and it's not going to be a civil war like it was in the 1860s. But I'll note the piece by Leonard Pitts from the Miami Herald this past weekend where he said the COVID crisis was the first crisis in American history that the nation did not come together as a nation. When I say the difference between nation and country, a nation is the people, the more perfect union. The country is the geography.
Right.
And that's kind of an important distinction because, as you know, Tom, in the next 20 years, probably 80% of the people in this country are going to be living in about 10 states. And those are mostly on the coast. And those are the economic centers, which are right now the big blue states. And that's why I'm saying the way to deal with these bullies is to start securing, kind of let them have their way and start securing states' rights and be ready for when this thing starts to fall apart. The states who take care of themselves will be in the best position because the Republican states they're the taker states.
Paul, we've been here for a long time. You've got maternal mortality rates and child mortality rates in southern states, particularly Louisiana, that are higher than some third world countries. I mean, literally the highest in the world among developed nations. We are already coming apart. We've got, they've got epidemics of hookworm disease in Mississippi. The last time I saw, a crisis with hookworm disease, I was in Uganda. I mean, it's in the middle of a civil war.
Oh yeah, Tom, the infant mortality in this country is the highest in the top 50 Western nations, and it's the last time it's 610 per 100,000. That's on average because that's not in every state. So what you're saying is it's way higher than that in some of these other states.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. We have already come apart, and we've been there for the better part of 50 years. I mean, the southern states, fought against even implementing Lyndon Johnson's Great Society programs, and still, and then the Supreme Court came in and said, yeah, you can ignore the Medicaid expansion in Obamacare, and so they're still sticking it to their citizens, those states haven't risen. People in those states haven't risen up and said no, because there's enough middle-class white people in those states who are saying, well, who's getting hurt the most by this is all the black people who live here. And so they're willing to go along with it.
That's right. And we keep talking about how, some of these voters, they keep voting against their best interests. And that's because, many of these voters, these are meme value belief voters that they don't care. As a previous caller said, their whiteness is more important to them than their economics. It really is. And so they're not going to change. You're not going to be able to show them the facts that will make them vote a different way because it's about meme value beliefs. And there's that. And
it's not even that, Paul. It's not even beliefs. Huh? It's about tribe. It's about people identifying basically, as I said, I'm going to rant about this in the second hour, but it's about people, white people identifying as white people and saying, we want the status quo to continue. They're saying that they want the status quo to continue, because it keeps white people on top. And by the way, men are doing the same thing, in particular with regard to things like abortion laws and access to birth control and things like that. For the same reason. It's
other
about
societies,
power.
Tom, other ancient societies have gone down. I'm thinking Rebecca Costa notes in her book, The Watchman's Rattle, the ancient Mayans, they just thought that continuing to sacrifice more and more children would somehow get them out of the drought that destroyed their society, their civilization. They just keep believing that if they do the same wrong thing over and over and more and better, that it'll get them out of it. And that's what these meme belief people are about. They don't care about the facts. It's all about their tribal beliefs. That's what happens to the Mayans. That's what's happened to a lot of civilizations.
Yeah, and it appears to be happening to ours. Paul, thank you. 44 and a half minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls, your thoughts on bullying and politics and where we're at in this country, how we go forward, what we can do about it right after this.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Speaking the truth, some multinational corporations would really rather you didn't know all about it. It's the Thom Hartmann Program. There's a lot of pride that comes with it. Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought I was in a commercial, and I'm actually not. I'm in a free speech TV break. It has been a long day. George in Los Angeles. Hey, George, what's up?
Hello, Mr. Hartman. I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. I once worked at a blue-collar, really tough place, blue-collar work job. It was like going back to kindergarten. It was like everybody's like punching each other, like in the chest or something. They didn't know you. It was just, It was, crazy. So this big guy once walked up to me. I didn't know. He punched me in the chest, hard. Mm-hmm. I thought, no way. I walked up, behind him. He was walking away, and I, tapped him on the shoulder. He turns around. What? I decked him right on the ground.
Right.
Guess what? We got along just fine after that. For the rest of my time I worked at that place, we got along, became kind of like buddies. That's how you deal with bullies.
Yeah,
it's the only language they understand.
I don't disagree, and that's why I said it's called setting limits. And when these guys step over the line, and they have, as they have been doing since the first day of Biden's inauguration, somebody needs to drop the anvil on their heads, or the piano out of the window, or whatever, whatever metaphor you want. I'm with you, George. I'm with you, and we need to be pushing back. And Merrick Garland doesn't seem to be up to the task. I'm thinking Merrick Garland should leave the Justice Department. He's a nice guy for a Republican, but I'm very, very concerned about what's going on. George, thank you. That was a great story. Brian in Tacoma, Washington. Hey, Brian, what's up?
Yeah, hey, thanks for taking my call. You just, you just touched on it again, but I really do you think that Merrick Garland, the Orrin Hatch recommended Merrick Garland, do you think he can't do it or doesn't want to do it? Or are there just too many Trump holdovers and too many Republicans in the Justice Department, and there's so many fires to be put out that he just can't get to it?
I think that's...
Which one is it?
I think it's the latter, Brian, but I have no inside information on this thing, and there are very, very few leaks out of the Justice Department. It's one of the most tightly sealed drums in the federal government. And but my guess is that Trump stacked the senior levels of Justice Department management with Trumpies, and they've always been Republican leaning. I mean, it's a law enforcement agency, for God's sake. And so surprise, surprise, they're going to be leaning hard to the right. And Merrick, as you point out, Merrick Garland, or as I've pointed out numerous times, and I think America has completely forgotten, at least Democrats have. Rachel last night went off on a long rant about this and never mentioned this. But when Barack Obama was looking for a Supreme Court justice that could clear the 60-vote filibuster threshold in the United States Senate, he went to Orrin Hatch, the Republican from Utah, very, very conservative Republican from Utah, and said, who is a federal judge that Republicans would find acceptable? And Orrin Hatch essentially said, Republicans love Merrick Garland, and he's a moderate guy. Why don't you put him in? And so that was Obama's nominee. I think it's time for him to go, frankly.
I do have to give you credit, Tom. I do know about the Orrin Hatch thing from you.
I've been ranting about it for years. I thought it was a mistake for Obama to pick him in the first place.
But we're in a bit of a pickle because of the Joe Manchin thing. If we get rid of Hatch, if we get rid of Garland, then how do we confirm someone else? You know what I mean? So.
It's a real challenge now that Sinema and Manchin are openly taking resources, money, and support from the Koch network and from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, along with every other Republican. It's bad news. Brian, thank you for the call. Share the Thom Hartmann program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann program. Over at ThomHartmann.com, we have our newsletter, our regular newsletter that Sue puts together every day. It's got a link in it to every single article that I talk about on the air. So you can see, the backup for everything that I have to say. It's free. There's some ads in it that just, pay for it, basically. But that's it. There's that. And then, of course, over at HartmannReport.com, also no charge, there is our daily rant. So those are two things on the internet that we have. We also,
periodically put up videos specifically for the people who are supporters of our program. And you can find our most recent one. It's about guns. This sheriff in Volusia County, the sheriff deputy there, asking the media, you know, where have we gone wrong when a 14-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy are having a shootout with deputies? And Texas passing this bizarre new gun law. Anyhow, it's all over at TomHartman.com. You can find it right there. Check it out. Welcome back. Steve in St. Petersburg, Florida. Hey, Steve, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. As always, you're the only media pundit connecting the dots in a progressive, ethical way. I know they tell us not to compliment you, but how can we help ourselves? On the other hand, your opening talk about bullying, I thought it was incomplete. Let's face it, the human species has risen to the role of earth-destroying apex predator precisely because we are the most successful bully that the universe has ever seen. Secondly, bullying and exploitation, getting over on each other, is built into consumer capitalism. It's in almost everything we do. Thirdly, America has always been a dominator, gun nut, bloodthirsty, racist, bullying country. We've not only stolen the land from the Native Americans while enslaving the blacks, we stole the land from the native animals, plants, and trees that were here first, and we continue to have bullying that is unaccountable. And I think what you're raising is the classic issue that even Jesus had to deal with in the Garden of Gethsemane when they came to take him away, and Peter cut the ear off of one of the soldiers, and Jesus said, we don't fight that way. Right. But how else do you deal with armed, dangerous, violent, insurrectionist, seditionist, traitorous bullies other than by fighting fire with fire? But then when you fight fire with fire,
you become an arsonist. Yeah.
It's very difficult, Tom, and you've raised these philosophical, religious, and spiritual issues, and I hope that you'll make space for those. These discussions that you're bringing up are much deeper than most people realize.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Steve. And Chris Ryan, who wrote this new book, Civilizing Ourselves to Death, is going to be a guest on our program sometime in the next few days or weeks. And what he documents so brilliantly is that Aboriginal and Indigenous societies, for 100, 200,000 years of trial and error of human history, we figured out how to prevent bullying. Bullying in most Indigenous societies is a sin. It's a major sin, as is hoarding. And we celebrate these things. You're absolutely right. And America was founded on this. And, the whole doctrine of discovery stuff is about being bullies and whatnot. So the question is, can we incorporate some of those older culture values? Because humanity had demonstrated prior to the agricultural revolution that it was up to the task. Or is it that in a post-agricultural revolution, post-industrial era, I'm talking about the last 7,000 years, and now we're kind of at the peak of the evolution of that process. I'm reluctant to use that word, but I don't have a better one. Can we, now that we have gotten this far using these, violent, essentially, systems, can we reform ourselves before we destroy ourselves? Because if we don't
that's exactly what I meant when I say you bring up depth discussions, and you're exactly right. Can humans learn to live with each other and all the other species on this planet without destroying them? That is our big challenge.
And it's an open question. And there are folks, in fact, we had this conversation, a couple of years ago with Sean. What was the guy who was saying that climate change is just going to kill us all in the next 10 years? So just give it up and start loving your friends. Guy McPherson is his name. That's right. Yeah. We had Guy on the program, and he was basically, it's over. We're screwed. I don't believe that. But I do get there's this kind of segment of folks not in the climate change movement, because the movement is still trying to do something about climate change, but who have kind of spun out of the climate change movement, who are taking that line, that the thing that is ultimately going to save the human race is the destruction of civilization as a consequence of climate change, and then we'll just go back to living tribally, and we'll rediscover egalitarianism out of necessity. very much hope that that's not the fate and future of my children, grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, but I can't discount it altogether. And I think that the decisions that are being made in this decade in particular are going to be pivotal in moving in that direction. Steve, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. It's great to hear from you, and I appreciate your kind words. Reginald in Long Beach. Hey, Reginald, what's up? What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going, Tom? Yeah, you got two Morrises out here that are with you, Tom.
Reginald, you need to get your microphone, your mouth right next to your microphone. I can't. It sounds like you're talking to me from the loo. That's not good.
Better?
No, it's not. Reginald,
better?
I'm going to put you on hold, and you can work it out with Joyce. Daniel in Maywood, Illinois. Hey, Daniel, what's on your mind today?
Hi, this is a deep discussion you're having this morning. I originally wanted to agree with the people that said you got to stand up to bullies, but really what's behind my idea is that I think we ought to be looking for a coalition with the other side. If we have that punch out and we do develop a relationship with the bully, then we can talk to them. But one of the worst bullying behaviors that just makes me irate is the propagandistic misuse of words. And this demonization of Antifa really sets me in a fighting mood. You've made the point many times that our entire nation was anti-fascist in our last legitimate world war. And anybody who wants to stand up for democracy should also be willing to say that they're anti-fascist.
Daniel, what's going on here? Just to put a point on it, I've only got 10 seconds. The Republicans love to take words that people don't know what the meaning of them is and attach their own meaning to it. And that's what they did with Antifa. That's what they're doing with critical race theory. People don't know what either of those words mean, so Republicans are trying to define them in advance as profound negatives because many Democrats have already embraced them. And that's absolutely what's going on. And I agree with you. It's massive bullying, and it's Frank Luntz style propaganda. We'll be back with Julia Rock.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info is available at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. EasyFlow, personal air filtration system. Fresh air anywhere. More info at easyflowusa.com, code TOM. Masterclass with world-class instructors. More info at masterclass.com/Hartman. And Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com.
We say fight back!
It's a tough time for democracy right now, and that is, of all the reasons out there, that more than anything else is why it's so critical that progressive media continue on the air. If you are watching this right now, odds are that you've seen and you haven't called Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. odds are you've seen a whole bunch of these essentially pitches, these requests to support Free Speech TV. And maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you've been wondering, can I do it? Should I do it? Are they going to sell my name or my email address? Am I going to get spam? Let me put your mind to rest. Free Speech TV doesn't share their donor list with anybody. It's right there. That's it. Free Speech TV will treat you. You're not going to get spam from Free Speech TV. They do have an email newsletter that's fascinating. It comes out, once or twice a week, it seems. If you don't want to get it, you can just click unsubscribe, and it won't come any longer. But if whatever your concern or objection that has caused you not to call up to this point, I'm trying to imagine what it might be so I can answer it, so I can encourage you to please call today, right? Please call right now, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fund drive really moving along. And perhaps there are other reasons why people might be reluctant or unwilling to make a donation to a progressive television network. If you know of one, let me know, and I'll address it on the air. And in these requests. But your privacy will be respected. Your it's everything. It's very straightforward. Free Speech TV it's not owned by anybody else. It's not part of some giant conglomerate. It's not like giving your address information to a big to one of the big telemarketing firms. None of that is going to happen. And in fact, when you call and make your donation, you may well even be talking to a volunteer or an employee of Free Speech TV. So please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need your feedback. We need your contributions. We need your help, or at least Free Speech TV does. And thus, I would say indirectly, this program as well. I don't want to see this television network go away. I mean, who would, right? So please call now. It's progressive media. It's important. Please call now and help Free Speech TV stay on the air, help Free Speech TV grow. In fact, wouldn't that be a great thing? There's so much potential here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we can use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. With a $120 gift, there is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, waving the bloody shirt, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book. And I encourage you, with a $120 gift, to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice T-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. the $360 gift. There's the Thom Hartmann University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker, the University bumper sticker, the Free Speech bumper sticker, the Pride sticker, the Real Change tote bag, the Wilmington on Fire DVD, and the Thom Hartmann Program mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and hang out with us. You know, and I'll buy you lunch. There's a little restaurant down the street. We always go there, and it's very nice. It's got a nice view and pretty reasonable food, actually, of all kinds. Bottom line, call now, 877-378-8669. If you haven't yet called Free Speech TV, please pitch in now. Give them a call, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Including the web of global. Is the future.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. On the line with us is a journalist with the Daily Poster, David Sirota's publication, dailyposter.com, Julia Rock. Julia's Twitter handle is JUL1A Rock, or at Daily Poster. And Julia, welcome to the program. Tell me about hiding the union busters.
Thanks so much for having me. So I wrote a story this week about a provision of the Protecting the Right to Organize Act called the Persuader Rule, which was part of the Biden campaign's initial platform on labor reform as well.
This is the PRO Act you're talking about.
The PRO Act, yep. Right. And that's a rule that would require...
Forgive the interruption, which has not been passed. Just I'm concerned about people being confused about not, you know. So,
exactly,
right.
Yes. It has 47 co-sponsors in the Senate right now.
Forgive my interruptions, Julia. Go for it.
No worries. And the Persuader Rule would require corporations to disclose expenditures during union drives on consulting services or legal services pertaining usually to union busting. Right. So right now during a union drive, corporations are required to disclose when they pay consultants or law firms to interact directly with employees and talk to them about unionizing, but they're not required to disclose expenditures on indirect communication. So that might be, you know, a consulting firm putting together flyers about union dues, or it might be a law firm advising an employer on how it can talk to employees about unions. And this was a story about the legal industry's efforts to make sure that the Persuader Rule isn't passed either through the PRO Act or through executive order. So the American Bar Association has long opposed the Persuader Rule and lobbied against efforts to pass it either through legislation or executive order.
So basically there's a little mini industry within the legal profession, and I shouldn't say a little mini industry, this is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry of union busting, and the American Bar Association is trying to protect this. Obviously, you know, if you look at, in fact, I thought one of the most fascinating parts of your article was, you know, what Amazon did. You want to fill us in on that? Yeah. So during the Amazon union election in Alabama, the company had kind of a remarkable set of tactics to prevent workers from, or to encourage workers to vote against the union, which included like multiple text messages a day that the company was sending to workers about, you know, why the union would be bad for them, mailers that were being sent to the employees, bonuses they offered to employees to quit before the election happened. And presumably there were, you know, big law firms or consulting firms that were kind of advising Amazon on how to do this. Like you said, it's you know, there are hundreds of $millions a year that these law firms and consultants make in the business of advising on union busting. But we don't really know who was coordinating those efforts. Amazon was required to make some disclosures, again, about those firms that were interacting directly with employees, but we really have no way of knowing who was behind the scenes. And obviously, you know, that was a historic union busting effort that
got a lot of public attention, but the firms that were advising Amazon on it were able to, keep themselves secret because this rule is not in place.
Right, and they were successful ultimately, which is all the more the tragedy. What are the rules around, right, the current rules around if a corporation just brings all this in-house? I mean, Amazon has, well, actually, I don't know for a fact that Amazon has an in-house legal department. I'd be astonished if a company that size didn't. If they just do these things in-house, how is that regulated?
Yeah, so it's not my understanding that this rule would apply to that. I do think, though, there, a lot of these big firms, you've probably heard some of the names like Ogletree Deakins, Morgan Lewis, that really are known for what they brand as their union avoidance services, are typically brought on to help coordinate these campaigns. So there's not kind of a requirement, if Amazon is paying its own lawyers to do this, but if they are bringing on these outside firms, then that is when this rule would be triggered. So
you started this conversation. We're talking with Julia Rock, a journalist with the Daily Poster, dailyposter.com. You started pointing out that the Biden administration campaigned on the PRO Act. This is, this legislation that would strengthen the right of unions to unionize and the right of people who want to have a union to get it. Where is the Biden administration on this right now? Where is Congress at on this right now?
Yeah, so this rule in particular, which is part of the PRO Act, the Persuader rule, is something that Biden could institute through executive order and has not done so yet. In terms of the PRO Act, the Biden administration has said it, supports the legislation, but that's not super meaningful. It's not really meaningful at all as long as the filibuster is in place, because there's not the support of 60 senators. I'd mentioned before, 47 Democratic senators currently support the PRO Act. There are a few holdouts.
Who are the three who don't?
It's the 2 Arizona senators and then Mark Warner from Virginia.
Oh, is that weird? I was expecting you to say Joe Manchin. I get Kyrsten Sinema. Mark Warner from Virginia. Okay, I don't know very much about him. I guess I'm surprised by that. And Mark Kelly from Arizona?
Yes. Yep.
Why would a guy who campaigned as well, I'm not sure he campaigned as a progressive. I mean, I suppose guns was a big issue for him because his wife is Gabby Giffords. But have any of those 3 offered any rationale for their failure to support the PRO Act, or have any of them, for that matter, come right out and said that they're opposed to it?
I don't know exactly what their public statements have been on the issue. I do know that all 3 of them, there's a pretty massive campaign right now from the Democratic Socialists of America and a couple of labor unions to, put the pressure on these 3 senators and get them to flip. And I think that pressure was what got Senator Joe Manchin to flip. So I do know that they're under a lot of pressure, both from the left and from labor unions. But I don't know what their public statements have been.
Yeah, the Mine Workers Union in West Virginia is a major power in that state politically,
right,
and particularly in Democratic politics. And so it makes sense that Joe Manchin would sit up and take notice. Apparently, if you think about Arizona, I've never thought of Arizona as a heavily unionized state. There's not a lot of manufacturing there. Construction, banking, insurance, some agriculture. So you can see where there wouldn't probably be a large union constituency. And Arizona has historically been a very conservative state. I mean, Barry Goldwater came out of Arizona. What's the deal with Mark Warner in Virginia?
I don't know exactly what his reasoning is right now for holding out on the PRO Act.
Yeah. Remarkable. And so finally, we're talking with Julia Rock, a journalist with the Daily Poster, dailyposter.com. What can average Americans, what can we do to encourage Congress to pass the PRO Act, or just to this smaller and, arguably finer point that you're making about, what Joe Manchin could do by executive order? What can we do to try to advance this process?
Yeah, so the DSA coalition with national labor unions that I'd mentioned before that is working on the PRO Act, I think has been really effective so far and is definitely worth plugging into. I think that campaign reached 1 million calls they had made in their phone banking efforts sometime last week. So I think that's probably the best option for plugging in to push the PRO Act forward, get these
and forgive me for not remembering, is there a link to that in your article?
No, I don't think there is, but we have covered the DSA PRO Act campaign previously at the Daily Poster, and there is a link in that article.
Yeah, people could just plug it into a search engine and check it out and find out how it works. That's great. Julia Rock, you're doing great work there at the Daily Poster, dailyposter.com. Thanks so much for dropping by today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, and very nice meeting you. We will be back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment. It's 15 minutes past the hour. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, Talk Media for the sane among us. Yes, there are some of us still here. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's the place where smart people get their news. Stick around. And welcome back. Don in Los Angeles. Hey, Don. Thanks for listening to KPFK. What's up?
Go ahead, Tom. As I've been listening to this discussion about bullying, it's evolved in so many interesting directions. Not all of them are very valuable and worth pursuing. I just want to focus on a couple of things. One is I think that what someone said about America having a history of being a bullying nation is absolutely true. To kind of paraphrase H. Rap Brown, bullying is as American as mom and apple pie, and that's part of our problem. Most nations throughout history haven't been that way.
Well, we committed the largest genocide in the history of the world, and we've never really acknowledged it. Canada it was just 15 years ago that Canada apologized to its indigenous people, maybe in the neighborhood of 15 years ago. Australia as well. But the United States, we're still pretending that didn't even happen. They don't even want it taught in our schools, the Republicans.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, that they're a good example of mostly peaceful people that were completely abused by the Europeans coming here. And
it was genocide. Let's call it what it was.
It was definitely genocide. Yeah. They won't acknowledge it. There's so much denial. So we got to work on that, obviously. The other thing, I'm an evangelical white male. I'm kind of a moderate liberal, I suppose, politically. I agree with exactly what you're saying about this discussion today and all of the damage that Trump has done. I think that someone had mentioned that what drives people on the right is their whiteness. I think, at least for evangelicals, it's not so much that. It's a logic of dominionism. I'm becoming more aware of this, that they have a certain eschatological shift from evangelism to dominance, from political conquest. It's absolutely irrational and unrealistic, and it's also morally wrong. And as long as they pursue that, and they can't be disabused of it, I think they're just going to be stuck in that place of supporting mindlessly these insurrectionists and all this violence, this bullying, and being completely contrary to everything Jesus Christ taught.
Yeah, and dominionism, evolved, as it were, out of the Genesis, where God said you have dominion over nature, and basically all life, and that permission slip, shall we say, has led to some. What seemed like, for many thousands of years, a couple of thousand years, like, wild expansion and, getting better. And now it's like, no, now we're tearing the planet apart. The logical endpoint of dominionism is exactly what indigenous and Aboriginal people said it would be: disaster.
Yeah, it is. It's absurd.
So as an evangelical, what changes need to be made in your church or do you think that it can be reformed, that it can abandon its dominionism and maybe go the way of, some of the Christian religions that are more cooperative and collaborative? You got 10 seconds, Tom.
Well, I need more access to the media. I have a website, but it doesn't get much. I'm not good at marketing. I think with your suggestion about the liberals have to take seriously the idea of developing their own media to compete with right-wing media. It's the only solution we have to fight these lies.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And I've been singing that song for a long, long time, and I can't get wealthy liberals to hear it, sadly. Don, thank you for the call. I do appreciate it. I mean, you know, if you're listening to me right now, you are almost certainly listening to me on a nonprofit media. Most of them right now are in fund drive, in a pledge drive. Please support them. Our 1 hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3 hour podcast available over at TomHartman.com if you want to really support our program. We try to have a lot of content over at TomHartman.com. And of course, every day my daily rant goes up at HartmanReport.com. No advertising, no fee or anything like that. You can even get it pushed out to your email box for free. But we also have, podcasts available that are free through wherever your favorite podcast provider may be, or the full 3 hour program. It's a 1 hour podcast, the one that's free out there. There's also the 3 hour podcast available at TomHartman.com. And we have a special video this week for supporters of the Thom Hartmann program. It's over at TomHartman.com about the 62 worst members of the U.S. House of Representatives and Josh Hawley in the Senate. These are the people who voted against the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which passed the Senate and the House overwhelmingly. But these 62 members of the House did what is just awful. You can check it out at TomHartman.com. And conditions. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. So I promised you in the last hour that I would get into another aspect of bullying. I mean, I believe that what Julia Rock was talking about is bullying. And what did Amazon do with their workers in Alabama who wanted to unionize? They bullied them. They were getting text messages at all hours. They were getting phone calls. They were getting. It was just they were overwhelmed with these messages about don't unionize. If you unionize, they were even offering to early retire with bonus people who were, at least according to this, Julia's reporting, people who were helping to organize the union, which didn't, and the union didn't happen ultimately. So there's, another example of big corporations in America acting like bullies. It's like we've got this culture grounded in bullying that goes back to the doctrine of discovery, that goes back to the slaughter of the innocents, as it were, the slaughter of the genocide of native peoples in the Americas by Europeans. And then, capturing people in Africa and dragging them over here to be held in enslavement. Talk about bullying, right? Yes, that's the history of our country. And progressives are trying to say, enough, let's have a reasonable society. We've gotten progressively more and more civilized over the years, or at least we think we have. Let's really do this right. And conservatives are like, no, we want to go back to being bullies. And breaking, segregating people out by race or by gender or gender, whatever it may be, gender identification. And so now we see over at The Writing, RIGHTING, this daily newsletter that summarizes, the top news headlines from the far right for the rest of us is their slogan. The top 3 right-wing, it's like every day there's a meme on the right that gets pushed out to tens of millions of Americans through social media, perhaps even hundreds of millions. If you include social media, that gets pushed out through social media, gets pushed out through all these right-wing websites. That is the topic du jour to be pounded on every right-wing or the most of the right-wing hate radio talk shows. It's all over Fox. And today, the rant is Kamala Harris. Oh my God. Have you noticed that we have a black woman in the vice president's chair. Can't have that. And she might be the nominee for president in 2024. So we've got to start tearing her down right now, say the Republicans. Remember when Kevin McCarthy came out and said, how are we? This was even before the primaries. Right? This was before the 2016 primaries. And he said, we're going to invest. I'm not even going to try to paraphrase it from memory, but the clip is easy to find. It's all over the internet, where Kevin McCarthy was basically, saying, we're going to take down Hillary Clinton. We're going to do it with, nonstop congressional investigations into her emails and into Benghazi. And we're going to basically, the Republicans said that they were going to smear her to the point that she couldn't win an election. And guess what? It worked. At least to a large extent. So now they're trying to do the exact same thing with Kamala Harris. God forbid, in the minds of conservatives, that a woman would end up president of the United States, much less a woman of color, of African American and Indian ancestry. So the headline over at the Washington Examiner: Kamala is in way over her head, and everyone can see it. The headline over at Fox News: mainstream media thinks Kamala is a god. Latin America thinks otherwise. Red State: Kamala cackles again. This is, right, this god-awful old witch stereotype of women is what they're evoking when they use the word cackles. Kamala cackles again over the border in yet another confused mess of an answer. And the opening paragraph, Kamala Harris, she just can't help herself. She's just so arrogant every time she's asked about the border. She just made another cackling border comment that shows how clueless she is. That's twice in one day. Right. Tucker Carlson: if Harris is looking to be greeted as a hero, she ought to go to London or some other population center where people hate themselves and their own culture. Yes, have you noticed that there are black people in London? There's quite a few of them. Many of them came from African countries that were under the thumb of the British Empire as the empire dissolved, and said, hey, if you're in one of our countries, you can come here and be a citizen if you want. Oh my God, Tucker Carlson's all bent out of shape. England, well, London in particular, but England is becoming a multiracial society. We can't have that. It's back to bullying. And then I'll share this with you right after the break, and then I'll pick up your phone calls. Fox News this morning: we're being marginalized. We? Who is we?
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Turns out they're specifically talking about white people. I mean, like, we're being marginal. Really? It's a tough time for democracy right now. And that is, of all the reasons out there, that more than anything else is why it's so critical that progressive media continue on the air. If you are watching this right now, odds are that, you've seen, and you haven't called Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. Odds are you've seen a whole bunch of these essentially pitches, these requests to support Free Speech TV. And maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you've been wondering, can I do it? Should I do it? Are they going to sell my name or my email address? Am I going to get spam? Let me put your mind to rest. Free Speech TV doesn't share their donor list with anybody. It's right there. That's it. Free Speech TV will treat you, you're not going to get spam from Free Speech TV. They do have an email newsletter that's fascinating. It comes out, once or twice a week, it seems. If you don't want to get it, you can just click unsubscribe and it won't come any longer. But if whatever your concern or objection that has caused you not to call up to this point, I'm trying to imagine what it might be so I can answer it, so I can encourage you to please call today, right? Please call right now, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fund drive really moving along. And perhaps there are other reasons why people might be reluctant or unwilling to make a donation to a progressive television network. If you know of one, let me know, and I'll address it on the air. And in these requests, but your privacy will be respected. Your, it's everything. It's very straightforward. Free Speech TV it's not owned by anybody else. It's not part of some giant conglomerate. It's not like giving your address information to a big, to one of the big telemarketing firms. None of that is going to happen. And in fact, when you call and make your donation, you may well even be talking to a volunteer or an employee of Free Speech TV. So please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need your feedback. We need your contributions. We need your help, or at least Free Speech TV does. And thus, I would say indirectly, this program as well. I don't want to see this television network go away. I mean, who would, right? So please call now. It's progressive media. It's important. Please call now and help Free Speech TV stay on the air, help Free Speech TV grow, in fact. Wouldn't that be a great thing? There's so much potential here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years, and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we can use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. With a $120 gift, there is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, waving the bloody shirt, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book, and I encourage you with a $120 gift to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice t-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker, the University bumper sticker, the Free Speech bumper sticker, the Pride sticker, the Real Change tote bag, the Wilmington on Fire DVD, and the Thom Hartmann program mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and hang out with us, and I'll buy you lunch. There's a little restaurant down the street. We always go there, and it's very nice. It's got a nice view and pretty reasonable food, actually, of all kinds. Bottom line, call now, 877-378-8669. If you haven't yet called Free Speech TV, please pitch in now. Give them a call, 877-378-8669. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. In addition to the free newsletter that we have over at TomHartman.com, which gives you literally a link to every story or article I've talked about throughout the day, every day, comes into your email box every day. There's no charge. In addition to that, and my daily rants, which are free of advertising and free of charge over at HartmanReport.com, we also produce a weekly video. This week's video is about how power companies around the country, for-profit power companies, 100% of the time, these power companies around the country are making it harder and more expensive for people to install solar in their homes. All kinds of ways of trying to block people from doing this. And increasingly, they're getting support from Republican politicians, both at the local and the state level. It's something that we really need to know about, we need to be paying attention to, and we need to be aggressively pushing back on. You can check it out over at TomHartman.com and at HartmanReport.com. And welcome back. A crazy alert. Dr. Tenpenny, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, was testifying before Ohio legislators on Tuesday. And she's talking about vaccines. And she said, right now we're all kind of hypothesizing about EMF frequencies and their association with COVID vaccines. She said, quote, I mean, what is it that's actually being transmitted that's causing all these things? Is it a combination of the protein, which we're now finding has a metal attached to it? I'm sure you've seen the pictures of all the internet of people who've had these shots, and now they're magnetized and put a key on their forehead, and it sticks. They can put spoons and forks all over them, and they stick because now we think there's a metal piece to that. Yes, take the vaccine and you get magnetized so the keys stick to your forehead. I think that's a little strange, don't you? Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Okay, what's that key doing on my forehead? Okay. Anyhow, as I was saying, let's get back into our conversation here. So much going on. Roy in Sunrise Beach, Missouri. Hey, Roy, what's on your mind today? Roy, you're on the air.
What's that?
Roy, I'm going to put you on hold so that Joyce can figure out what's going on. He's on line 5, Joyce. Jessica in Chicago. Hey, Jessica, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I absolutely love you. You're fantastic, and I always agree with you. So this show is, I think we do need to get rid of Mayor Garland, because here's the thing. There's a lot of Trump holdouts, too, and they need to go. But, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. One thing is I wanted to say, when you were speaking, I remembered this evil thing from Tulsa Survivor talking about how the white men went through her backyard, and so they came through with torches, and her family was hiding under their dining room table, and she could see the white men light her little doll clothes on fire that were hanging out on the line.
Oh,
and they're just evil. I cried. They're just evil. But that's bullying. And Senator Cotton, who you can't stand either, he's going after Fauci. He says funding dangerous research. Right. Fauci wants to make coronavirus more contagious, and
it's a lie. This is all part of the effort to basically take the heat off Donald Trump for killing 500,000 Americans unnecessarily, Jessica.
Exactly.
Trump was tweeting about this morning. I'm going to get into that in the third hour of the show.
Yes. And can I tell you one other thing? With our family, they're bullies. They're crazy. They're Trumpsters, and they live in the Trumpster area. But they called to invite us to a party. So I asked, are you vaccinated? And she said no. And so I said, you need to get vaccinated. It will save your life. So I didn't go, but my husband went to the crazy party. And the thing of it, Tom, it was insane. None of the adults were wearing masks, but 10 little children without masks running around unvaccinated, and they just don't get it. So I don't know how it's ever going to work in our country.
Well, sadly, it's going to kill a lot of Republicans. I mean, that's the bottom line. Right. We're seeing this now here in Oregon. Every day I get an email from the Oregon Department of Health. Anybody in Oregon who signs up for it does, in fact, about the vaccine status and the COVID status of the state. And we're watching our daily COVID positive rate go from 2,000 down to 1,000 down to 500. It was like at 300. In fact, it was below 300 one day this week. And then they list all the people who died, and they give their age and they give the county they're from. And what we're seeing is that all of these red counties in Oregon, most of Oregon's counties are red. Most of Oregon's population is blue, but it's mostly centered in Portland. We have about 4 million people in the state. There's about 1 million people in Portland, and then you got a couple of large towns in Salem, and it's the red counties where the people are dying. It's the red counties where the hospitals are in a crisis right now. We're fine here in Portland. We had, I think it was 35 cases diagnosed in Portland yesterday, in a city of 1 million people. 35 cases. And because we're all vaccinated. I mean, the state is projected to hit 70% vaccination rate in 2 weeks because of because so many people in the blue counties have been vaccinated. And the consequence for the red counties is that more and more of these people are getting sick and dying, or they're getting sick. I mean, the side effects of the COVID infection. And now we've got this new variant that came out of India, the Delta variant, that is attacking children. And children are showing up in the hospitals. Children are dying from this. And it'll also, people think, oh, I had COVID earlier, so I'm immune. Well, this variant will take you down with COVID, even if you've already had COVID. And, the vaccine, in fact, the Pfizer vaccine, which is 95% effective against everything, it goes down to 83% effectiveness against this variant. So, and the longer the world remains unvaccinated, the more of these variants are going to pop up. Right. So it's like these people are just living in La La Land. And sadly, the people who put them there were, Donald Trump put them there because he didn't want to close the economy because he was afraid that would cost him the election of 2020. It's obscene. Jessica, I have to move along, but thank you for the call. Rich in Central Woolley, Washington. Hey, Rich, what's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Tom. Yeah, what I'm going to say may sound crass and repugnant to a lot of people, but I have away $35 to buy back democracy. 4 easy steps. Step number 1, we need as many people as possible to contact Joe Manchin's campaign office and simply say, I'm committed to make a donation to your campaign if you will commit to changing the filibuster, reforming the
It won't work, Rich. It won't work. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the largest lobbying organization in America. They control a budget, hundreds of millions, maybe billions, God only knows. Just started funneling money to Manchin and Sinema. The Koch network is now supporting Manchin and Sinema. And probably a few other Democrats as well. What we're seeing are that the enemies of democracy itself are on the march, and they are very, very wealthy.
The Chamber of Commerce only gave him $17,000.
I know, of explicit money into his campaign. How much are they going to spend on third-party ads that don't show up on Open Secrets in campaigning for him? It could be millions. It could be tens of millions. I mean, that's what when you are embraced by the U.S. Chamber and by the Koch network, most of that does not show up on the stuff that is easily tracked. And these guys all know it.
1/6 of your audience participates, and he's going to get a $35 million bump out of this.
Yeah, but 1/6 is not. It's not. Rich, I love your optimism, and I share your enthusiasm for doing something about this. But I don't think that you can bully Joe Manchin out of this. I don't think you and I can do it. I think that Chuck Schumer and President Biden might be able to, but they don't seem inclined to. So, Rich, I got to run along. I got to move along. But thank you for the call, James in Salida, Colorado. Excuse me. Hey, James, what's up?
Hey, Tom. When I was in 7th grade, the guy that was considered to be the second toughest guy in the school decided he was going to make me one of his favorite bullying targets. I tried to be nice to him. I tried to avoid him. Nothing worked.
Yeah.
At the end of 7th grade, he decided to take me out by kneeing me, you know where. I whirled around. I shoved him to the ground. He came up, hit me in the face, and the next thing I knew, I had him against the lockers. I was beating his face in, and the teacher was pulling me off. At that point, I was like, okay, I've had enough.
Right.
Well, the following year, nobody messed with me, not even the guy who thought he was the first toughest guy. In fact, everybody thought that.
I know.
So what I have found is that trying to be nice to a bully doesn't work.
You're right.
You have to be out bullying them, and we are in a war. We are in a war for our democracy, and if we don't go to war right now, we are going to lose it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't think that I would characterize it as you have to bully bullies. I would characterize it as you have to set limits. When their behavior exceeds a certain point, you say, that's it. You know, the anvil's going to fall on your head. And obviously that's what happened with you, James. I never reached that point when I was a little kid. And I'm not sure if it's because Dennis's bullying was not that terrible or because I was just not that, physically. I mean, he was physically much larger than me, and I was scared of him. But it's like this is the stuff we do. You know, it's anyhow. James, thank you. Thank you for your. I agree with your sentiment, your overall sentiment, and I think it's very, very well said. It's 45 minutes past the hour. We're going to hit a break here, and I'm going to pick up Chuck's call on the other side of this. We'll be back. Stick around. It's the Thom Hartmann program helping you win the water cooler wars. Yes, we're back. We got our water cooler back. Actually, it's one of those ceramic pots that you put a 5-gallon thing in. I said ceramic bowl the other day, and people were on Twitter going, "Oh, really? Toilet water?" No. Anyhow, helping you win the water cooler wars.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
How do we deal with bullies in the federal government? We'll be right back. And welcome back. Chuck in Spirit Lake, Idaho. Hey, Chuck, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, well, Tom, in this discussion of bullies, the problem is we're not in school anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There are no teachers for referees. That's a Pollyannish Marcus of Queensberry bubble that people are talking about, beating up a bully. If in the world I live in, people have guns. If you reply to violence with violence, they'll just get a bigger gun.
Yeah, you're right.
And in the world of ideas, they in politics, they just do away with the
they just change the rules
of truth.
Yeah.
Truth goes away, so that they'll do anything to win.
Yeah. And we're all seeing that right now.
I have no answers for it. But all we can do is keep trying to find some way to reason. Violence is not going to be the answer.
I don't think reasoning with them is going to be the solution. We saw well, in particular, we saw Barack Obama try that for 8 years. And
are we going to kill them all or what?
No. What we do is we outnumber them and we vote them out of office.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, that's the whole point of a democracy.
We can't convert them, but we have to find a way to increase our numbers and get our people out to vote.
Absolutely right, and that's why I'm a big advocate of progressive media. I think without good progressive media, you're watching one of them right now, Free Speech TV. Without good progressive
media, we've got to get this idea away from beating up on a bully. The physical part of it is repulsive to me. You can't get there by the
No, I get it, Chuck, and we've had two people call in and say they punched back, and I tip my hat to people who take on bullies. I think the metaphor is not that if somebody's got a gun, you point a gun at them or anything like that. I think the metaphor is you can't just let bullies bully you, and you can't just ignore it. You have to fight back. The ground on which we can fight back, though, reasonably fight back, I think is fairly clearly established, and that is that we need to turn out more people and vote them out of office. And in that regard, there's actually some good news, which I'll share on the other side of this break. That the Democratic Party is doing better and better day by day, but I get it. Chuck, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. Robin in Kingston, Washington. Hey, Robin, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom. Just kind of talking about bullying from my perspective and in a macro cosmic event, expanding from all the interpersonal things. Again, just to remind you, I'm a very proud 9/11 Truth peace activist, a world peace activist, and I'm comfortable in my skin doing that. I look at 9/11, the events of 9/11, the net result is that the events, I can argue, bullied the citizens of this country to easily give up too much of the First and Fourth Amendment rights.
You're absolutely right.
And also...
that was bullying by both bin Laden and Bush.
This is what I'm saying, okay? And also, it allowed the Pentagon to adopt a new enemy since they lost the USSR,
right?
And that is basically Islam, okay?
Yeah.
So,
which brought us the Patriot Act and everything else.
Right. This is how Cheney and Rumsfeld and Clark wanted it to happen. So, anyways, I just thought I'd chip that in.
Yeah. No, thank you, Robin. I think your observation is spot on. We will be back. It's coming up on 10 minutes before the hour here on the Thom Hartmann program. Stick around. We'll be right back. Share the Thom Hartmann program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann program. Hey, we have a couple of special things over at ThomHartmann.com and HartmannReport.com. Of course, at HartmannReport.com, every single day, well, 6 days a week, Sunday accepted, I write a rant about an issue of the day that I think is important. Louise and I work on these together. We get them out typically around 6 in the morning Pacific time. And you'll find that at HartmannReport.com. It's free. You can sign up for it. There's no ads, whatever. But also over at ThomHartmann.com, we have a video every week for the supporters of our program. And the one this week is about how Wisconsin is trying to remove, in fact, they just got permission from their Supreme Court to remove 188,000 people from the voting rolls because they haven't voted in 4 years. This highlights the importance of getting to know who is your state representative, who is your state senator, and communicating with them regularly. It's all over at HartmannReport.com and ThomHartmann.com. And welcome back. This last thing here. We're being marginalized. Fox News hosts explode at black people trying to, quote, take down the white culture. This is over in Raw Story right now. This was this morning on Fox and Friends. Steve Doocy, Ainsley Earhardt, and Brian Kilmeade. Why are we being marginalized on a daily basis based on our gender, our sexuality, and the color of our skin? Oh, poor white people. I feel so oppressed. Art Earhart said, don't see people for skin color. We look to the Bible in my house. That's probably the best articulation of white privilege I've ever heard. You don't have to worry about white, skin color. You're on top, right? I want my daughter to be autonomous. She can stand on her own 2 feet, she says. Yeah, as can most white people. Steve Doocy says the racism problem has been solved because former President Barack Obama was black. It was just a couple of years ago, he says, where the United States of America elected an African-American as president of the United States. The biggest entertainers, the biggest sports stars are African-Americans. Right. Problem solved. It's amazing. John in Gulfport, Mississippi. Hey, John, what's on your mind today?
Oh, well, thank you, Tom. I like the key antics the little performance you did there with the key. My question is, we know full well how much the Republican Congress is compromised by corporate donors, and with respect to the Democrats in this situation with trying to get the filibuster done away with, or the $3 trillion bid for infrastructure, and so quickly collapsing on any of those fronts, how much is your guess, or do you believe that the Democrats, just as the Republicans in the Congress, are compromised or made weak knees by their donor class?
Well, there's a piece over at truthout.org that Sue Nethercutt, who puts together our newsletter, just forwarded to me, and thank you very much for that, Sue. It's by Sam Knight, and it's titled "Democrat Opposed to the PRO Act." He's talking about Mark Warner of Virginia, the Democratic senator from Virginia. The headline: "Democrat opposed to the PRO Act was showered with cash from Amazon executives." Bing! You know, the light goes off, right? Now, that said, John, there is some good news, and that is that last night we had, well, this is a press release from the DNC, right? In New Hampshire's special election, Democrat Muriel Hall, surpassed the Democrats' 2020 margin, as did Congresswoman-elect Melanie Stansbury in New Mexico. So, the Democrats are showing strong in Virginia. Terry McAuliffe just, won that primary. We'll see if he becomes the first two-term governor in the history of Virginia. New Jersey and New Hampshire, in all these states, what we're seeing is that the Democrats are doing really well, which makes me optimistic. But yeah, I mean, this is a problem that was created by the Supreme Court in the 1970s when they struck down laws going all the way back to the Tillman Act from 1907, Teddy Roosevelt's law against corporations giving money to politicians. And here we are. Here we are. So John, John, thank you for the call. I think we just have to fight back. Patrick in West Los Angeles. Patrick, you have the last minute of the hour. What's up?
Hey, Tom, listen, thanks for the line. Okay, so what I found is that, dealing with bullies, and other speakers have mentioned this, you can't reason with them. On an individual basis, there's no use engaging them. But if there's other people around, every argument that they have can be turned around. If you know what you're talking about, if you're, somebody like you and myself, if, you have the skills to do it, every argument can be turned around. And there's a lot of utility in embarrassing these people in front of other people. That's the only thing to do with regard to engaging with them. You can't reason with them. For instance, if you take knuckle draggers talking about, communism. Well, who is it that is the Republicans are communing with the Russians. The Russians were the biggest example of communism that's ever existed.
Yeah, although now the Russians are the biggest example of unregulated capitalism on the planet, I would argue. But I get your point, Patrick. I absolutely get your point. And they also, the Republicans have enthusiastically shipped about half of our manufacturing news, or a big chunk of it, over to China, who are definitely communists. Patrick, thank you for the call. Well said. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info is available at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. EasyFlow, personal air filtration system. Fresh air anywhere. More info at easyflowusa.com, code TOM. Masterclass with world-class instructors. More info at masterclass.com/Hartman. And Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com.
We say fight back!
It's a tough time for democracy right now. And that is, of all the reasons out there, that more than anything else is why it's so critical that progressive media continue on the air. If you are watching this right now, odds are that, you've seen and you haven't called Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. Odds are you've seen a whole bunch of these essentially pitches, these requests to support Free Speech TV. And maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you've been wondering, can I do it? Should I do it? Are they going to sell my name or my email address? Am I going to get spam? Let me put your mind to rest. Free Speech TV doesn't share their donor list with anybody. It's right there. That's it. Free Speech TV will treat you. You're not going to get spam from Free Speech TV. They do have an email newsletter that's fascinating. It comes out, once or twice a week, it seems. If you don't want to get it, you can just click unsubscribe, and it won't come any longer. But if whatever your concern or objection that has caused you not to call up to this point, I'm trying to imagine what it might be so I can answer it, so I can encourage you to please call today, right? Please call right now, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fund drive really moving along. And perhaps there are other reasons why people might be reluctant or unwilling to make a donation to a progressive television network. If you know of one, let me know, and I'll address it on the air. And in these requests, but your privacy will be respected. Your it's everything. It's very straightforward. Free Speech TV it's not owned by anybody else. It's not part of some giant conglomerate. It's not like giving your address information to a big to one of the big telemarketing firms. None of that is going to happen. And in fact, when you call and make your donation, you may well even be talking to a volunteer or an employee of Free Speech TV. So please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need your feedback. We need your contributions. We need your help, or at least Free Speech TV does. And thus, I would say indirectly, this program as well. I don't want to see this television network go away. I mean, who would, right? So please call now. It's progressive media. It's important. Please call now and help Free Speech TV stay on the air, help Free Speech TV grow. In fact, wouldn't that be a great thing? There's so much potential here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years, and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we could use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. With a $120 gift, there is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, waving the bloody shirt, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book. And I encourage you with a $120 gift to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice t-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. With a $360 gift, there's the Tom Hartman University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker, the University bumper sticker, the Free Speech bumper sticker, the Pride sticker, the Real Change tote bag, the Wilmington on Fire DVD, and the Tom Hartman Program mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and hang out with us, and I'll buy you lunch. There's a little restaurant down the street. We always go there, and it's very nice. It's got a nice view and pretty reasonable food, actually, of all kinds. Bottom line, call now, 877-378-8669. If you haven't yet called Free Speech TV, please pitch in now. Give them a call, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
This is the Tom Hartman Program.
Welcome back. Tom Hartman here with you. Welcome to our third hour of our program. And so what's the deal with Social Security? What's going forward with Social Security and Medicare? We know that the Republicans were totally, absolutely committed to privatizing Social Security, so much so that when George W. Bush won re-election in 2004 on the strength of his being a wartime president, he said, I'm going to use my political capital to privatize Social Security, and went on like a 15-state tour to try to sell it. It didn't work out all that well. And then when Trump came into office, he put people in charge of Social Security who hate Social Security, at least as a public good. So what's the status of all this right now? On the line with us is our old buddy Alex Lawson, the Executive Director of Social Security Works, socialsecurityworks.org, and StrengthenSocialSecurity.org as well. SS Works is the Twitter handle for that. And of course, his personal Twitter handle is ALaw202. Alex, welcome back to the program. What's the status of Trump appointees in the Social Security Administration and the Medicare administration?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I wish I had better news to report, but unfortunately, it's been 6 months where Trump is no longer the president, but his minions are still at the top of the Social Security Administration, and they haven't changed their tune at all. And in fact, it's gotten to the point where we're having to really fight hard to put restrictions on money, because it's budget season, so that they can't do the things that we defeated under Trump. But we're worried, and with very good cause, that if you give these guys, Andrew Saul, the commissioner, David Black, the deputy commissioner, if you give them the millions of dollars that they request for, they call it program integrity, but we know it's just a backdoor. They're going to use that as a backdoor attempt to take people's benefits away. So it's really, we're at a very odd point, because they're so out of step and out of tune with what President Biden says, but they still run the administration. And we are just flummoxed by that.
Alex, I understand with Louis DeJoy that the Postal Service is a unique thing. It's a separate, independent, kind of quasi-government corporation. And he can only be fired by the Postal Board of Governors, who are appointed by the president, so it takes time, and, maybe he'll be in prison before he gets removed. But I thought that the Social Security Administrator and the number 2 person at the Social Security Administration were basically just presidential appointees. What am I missing? How did they get there, and why aren't they gone?
Yeah, it's so they are termed, and which means they serve for a certain number of years. That's a new phenomenon. It was actually a Clinton era reform. And what happened under President Trump, is that the Supreme Court ruled very clearly that there's no such thing as a position that the president can't fire, right? I mean, they work in the executive. He's the top of the executive. He can fire them. They work at the.
So even if you've got a 10-year term and you're 3 years into it, the president is your boss, and he can push you out the door.
And he can fire you.
And did Trump use that to fire the Obama Social Security administrator?
Not Obama. So Obama never actually appointed a Social Security administrator, a commissioner of Social Security. He actually allowed Bush's commissioner to continue, and then he never put in a confirmed commissioner. It was only an acting commissioner, which was a really, that it was a huge. Oh,
that was part of Mitch McConnell refusing to run it through the Senate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that, also, as you remember, President Obama did not have Social Security very high on his list of paying mind to. And unfortunately, sometimes, when he did pay mind, it was to push things like the chain CPI benefit cut until we got him off of that. Right. But under Trump, this was how he used this ruling to push out, and it was based on when he pushed out the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Board. Mm-hmm. So that's what he did. And so we know for certain it's the ruling is the Celia ruling. We know that is the law of the land now. But for some reason, President Biden's circle think that maybe it's that thing that Democrats sometimes do where they play by the rules that no one else is playing by and therefore get played by the rules.
Yeah.
But I will say that's literally just Andrew Saul. I want to make that clear. I think I misspoke earlier when I said they are termed. He's termed. David Black, the deputy commissioner, is at will. There's absolutely nothing standing in the way of President Biden saying, get out of here. And Deputy Commissioner David Black is actually the brains of the operation. He is the ideological mastermind of this. He comes out of that worldview that Social Security, because it works so well, has to be destroyed so that the market can come in and steal all of our retirements. And, then the plutocrats get richer and the people die in poverty. 1 in 2 seniors was living in poverty before Social Security was created. Right. That's the world they want to return to. Andrew Saul, the commissioner, he's a dilettante. He's super dangerous, but he's a dilettante. He needs David Black to be able to do this stuff. And so that is the one where we're just really wondering, why are you leaving this guy who 100%, he's an at-will employee of the President of the United States, and he is just fundamentally dangerous to the
so
millions
Biden could
of
take
people,
care of this
in this country
with a signature.
Easily. And it wouldn't even be a signature.
Any
right?
idea why he hasn't? I mean,
thing.
Is this just like one thing that has, one of 1,000 things that have slipped through the cracks, or I can get it where the Biden administration might be, reluctant to take on issues that are highly controversial or people, that are highly controversial. But this doesn't seem controversial at all. What am I missing here?
I know. Now, Tom, it's at this point, it's just, I have to say it's malpractice. He's just doing a bad job on this front. Why is he doing a bad job? Why is President Biden doing a bad job in letting these goons control one of the biggest institutions in this country? Social Security touches all of us. I think it's because it's that problem when something works so well that it just goes to the back of your mind. It recedes as a priority. President Biden came in, a lot of things were on fire. Social Security works. Checks go out. Never has a single check been missed through wartime, peace, boom, bust. It doesn't matter. Social Security is there for you. And I think that has allowed it to recede as a priority. And there's very few truth tellers like yourself who are willing to raise this back up. And David Black and Andrew Saul are also masterful bureaucrats, right? They know how to play the bureaucratic game to keep their heads down and pretend that they're on Team Biden when, in fact, they're doing everything they can to undermine President Biden.
So, we're talking with Alex Lawson, the Executive Director of Social Security Works, socialsecurityworks.org. Alex, what can or should we be doing right now?
Anybody who's on Twitter, just make noise about firing Saul and Black, the hashtag Fire Saul and Black. Go to Ron Klain, the White House Chief of Staff. He's very available on Twitter. But tweet at all of them and then call your senators and demand, it doesn't matter who they are, Republican, Democrat, just demand that Saul and Black are fired. And that's what we have to do right now.
Fire Saul and Black is the hashtag you said?
Yes.
FireSaulandBlack?
Yes, if I followed all that. Fire Saul and Black.
Got it. Alex, you're doing God's work. Thanks so much for dropping by today. It's great talking with you.
Thanks, Tom.
Alex Lawson, the Executive Director of one of our really great organizations out here, Social Security Works.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with more of the news of the day and your calls right after this. Stick around. And welcome back. David in Lakewood, Colorado. Hey, David, what's on your mind today?
Hello, Tom. Good to talk to you again. I'm only my second call, and I just want you to know. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Oh, okay. Just double checking, and I know that's annoying. Anyway, I don't have any other sounds on here. Well, just a really quick thing. Certainly this has happened in history, and certainly not just in U.S. history, but in the now, the Republicans have definitely become the populist bully party. And in my lifetime, it kind of started with Nixon, but, we saw crap going on before and the party slipped. We all might know about that. And the thing is that I've been reading books and, certainly getting used to the idea of maybe starting to read some of yours because I haven't yet and I need to. But I grew up Catholic, and something that really hit me between the eyes a number of years ago was I started reading some of Rene Girard's stuff about mimetic desire, in particular the book I See Satan Fall Like Lightning. And, I was a great books kid, so I kind of saw through all this nonsense, and with political parties and all this finger pointing and what is the passion for violence and bullying? I personally didn't get it. And, I've even read Atlas Shrugged 3 times and, I just trying to figure out I know it's ugly, but, just trying to figure out what's going on. When I couldn't believe, I voted for Jimmy Carter. That was my first big election. And I couldn't believe that, we got Reagan so quickly when I was, because of family, I didn't grow up there, but I was really aware of what Reagan was about. And what you people are nuts. And it just kind of, and here we go over and over.
We used to call him Ronnie Reagan,
Oh, yeah, well, I can't believe what he did with the communist scare and being a leader of the actors union. We all know this. So just throwing it out there, honestly, I swear to God, I could teach a critical thinking class, probably. I'd pick a bunch of books, but I'd never be hired. I do Eric Hoffer, The True Believer. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I read that years ago.
That's a book that is very relevant today.
Of course it is. And then, I'm just going to finish because I know you got a lot of callers. And, my God, I need to write a script when I talk to you because I want to be quicker. But true terror is to wake up one morning and discover that your high school class is running the country. You know who that was, right?
No.
Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, and that's the GOP. This whole idea of being bullies and, pushing people around and tough guy. And this is the Republican Party on steroids. And it's not good for this country. It is actively and aggressively harmful for this country. But these billionaire libertarians think that if they can just get rid of all the social programs and just have the government run the police and the military and put a lot more people in prison, then everything will be just wonderful. And it's never worked out that way in any country anywhere in the world. David, I got to run, but thank you for the call. And your points are, I think all of your points were spot on. It's good to hear from you. It's coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of the Thom Hartmann program, your media support group for we the people of the United States of America. All of us. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. We're trying to provide the very best content that we can for you at Hartmann Report and over at TomHartmann.com. And on Hartmann Report, every day, 6 days a week, I write an op-ed. Very often they're my rants, also for the radio and television program. And it's ad-free, commercial-free. It's free. You can sign up. It'll get pushed into your email box. Check it out at HartmannReport.com. And, of course, over at TomHartmann.com, we have our weekly video that we put up every week that, does a deeper dive for people who are members of our program, of TomHartmann.com. And the one this week is about this Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, SIGAR, their new report that almost 20 million Afghans are on the verge of starvation and nobody's talking about it. Check it out at TomHartmann.com. And welcome back. Okay, just to kind of put a bow on the day, as it were, I've got to tell you what is going on in Trump world. This is because this is impacting all of us. This is having an impact on all of America. Donald Trump, the guy who has been trying to tear this country down for probably most of his adult life, all the way back to his rants in the 70s or the 80s about the Central Park Five. I forget which decade that happened. And here he's at it again. As you know, I'm on his mailing list, and I haven't gotten a fundraising pitch in several months. It's like he's just been quiet. And it turns out that there's almost certainly a reason for that, and that is that in fundraising world, in Donald Trump's fundraising world, he fired one of the people who was doing fundraising for him, the person in charge of his personal fundraising, because that person was trying to protect the Republican Party's mailing lists. So yesterday, I got an email from Donald Trump. And it's under the logo of Save America. And underneath that, it says President Donald J. Trump. Yes, he still thinks he's president, or at least he wants his followers to think he's president. He knows he's not president, but whatever. And the letter says, China must pay for what they've done. Everyone, even the so-called enemy, is beginning to say that I was right about the China virus coming from Wuhan labs. I've known this all along, and now the rest of the world is starting to catch up. Bottom line, China should pay $10 trillion to America and the world for the death and destruction they've caused, period. We know Sleepy Joe is weak on China, can't be trusted to get the job done. That's why I'm calling on our strongest supporters right now to stand with me and demand that China pay for what they did. I'm reviewing a list of all the patriots who publicly stand with me during this time. Make sure I see your name. Please add your name immediately to the official petition to demand China pay for what they've done. And then he goes on, I've said from day one, it was the Wuhan lab, and I was called nasty things by my enemies. This is your chance to stand with me on the right side of history. And when you click on the link, the official Trump petition link to sign his petition, you find yourself on a page where you're being asked for a donation. And the two little boxes of, yes, add a bonus donation, and yes, make this a recurring monthly donation, only it's in the small print, right? It's underneath the larger type about, please stand with America, be a patriot. they're both pre-checked. This thing that just a few months ago, everybody, I mean, all across the news, the New York Times finally discovered what I had been telling you about for 3 years. Well, but actually for the better part of maybe a year, the 2020, most of that year was when he had the 2 check boxes pre-filled in. I hadn't seen it before then, you know, just to be accurate. Well, he's up to his old tricks. The stuff that is called fraud. Donald Trump must be low on cash. The money now is going into his super PAC, which means that he can use it to, you know, gee, if he decides that his office at Mar-a-Lago, where he lives, if his office needs to pay rent to himself, and the rent is, let's say, $1 million a day, he can do that. He can just take all these donations from the super PAC and just pay it to himself. And that's, you know, one of the ways that would be like kind of super legal. There's other ways that are even shadier. He also issued on his blog, statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. And it's basically congratulations to Nigeria, which just banned Twitter because Twitter banned their president because their president was promoting hate. And he says, congratulations to the country of Nigeria. More countries should ban Twitter and Facebook for not allowing free and open speech. In other words, because they banned Trump. All voices should be heard. In the meantime, competitors will emerge and take hold. Who are they to dictate good and evil if they themselves are evil? Perhaps I should have done it while I was president, but Zuckerberg kept calling me up and coming to the White House for dinner, telling me how great I was. And then he ends it with 2024, question mark. This guy is bent on tearing this country apart. Have you had any success with talking your friends who are Trump holes, people who are Trump followers, in talking them down? I've been, you know, I did this deep dive on the right-wing media this morning after getting this thing from Donald Trump, and I shared a lot of it with you throughout the program. And one of two things. I mean, I suspect that his base, the people following him, are becoming smaller and smaller parts of the Republican Party, or at least smaller and smaller parts of America, that the Republican Party is shrinking right in front of us because of Trump. Will that convert into electoral victories? It's starting to look like Democrats might have a good 2022. On the other hand, there's all these structural challenges.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
So I ask you, and I'll pick up the calls after the break, you know, what's happening in your neck of the woods? How is Trump playing among your circles? Where is this going? It's a tough time for democracy right now. And that is, of all the reasons out there, that more than anything else is why it's so critical that progressive media continue on the air. If you are watching this right now, odds are that, you know, you've seen and you haven't called Free Speech TV at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. Odds are you've seen a whole bunch of these essentially pitches, these requests to support Free Speech TV. And maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you've been wondering, you know, can I do it? Should I do it? Are they going to sell my name or my email address? Am I going to get spam? Let me put your mind to rest. Free Speech TV doesn't share their donor list with anybody. It's right there. That's it. Free Speech TV will treat you, you're not going to get spam from Free Speech TV. They do have an email newsletter that's fascinating. You know, it comes out, you know, once or twice a week, it seems. If you don't want to get it, you can just click unsubscribe and it won't come any longer. But if whatever your concern or objection that has caused you not to call up to this point, I'm trying to imagine what it might be so I can answer it, so I can encourage you to please call today, right? Please call right now, 877-378-8669. We need to get this fund drive really moving along. And perhaps there are other reasons why people might be reluctant or unwilling to make a donation to a progressive television network. If you know of one, let me know, and I'll address it on the air. And in these requests, but your privacy will be respected. It's everything. It's very straightforward. Free Speech TV it's not owned by anybody else. It's not part of some giant conglomerate. It's not like giving your address information to a big to one of the big telemarketing firms. None of that is going to happen. And in fact, when you call and make your donation, you may well even be talking to a volunteer or an employee of Free Speech TV. So please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need your feedback. We need your contributions. We need your help, or at least Free Speech TV does. And thus, I would say indirectly, this program as well. I don't want to see this television network go away. I mean, who would, right? So please call now. It's progressive media. It's important. Please call now and help Free Speech TV stay on the air, help Free Speech TV grow. In fact, wouldn't that be a great thing? There's so much potential here with this network. It is so unknown in America. It's absolutely shocking that this network has been around 18 years and so few people have never heard of it. And that's where we can use your help. Become our publicity machine, right? Reach out to your friends and neighbors. Talk about Free Speech TV on social media. If I say something provocative or interesting, share it with people or other hosts on Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, there is your choice of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker or the Take Action, Make History Pride sticker. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of 2 different designs for the Free Speech TV tote bag this year. The real change comes from the grassroots tote bag, kind of echoing the, Margaret Mead's old saying. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann program mug, only available here, collector's item. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of 2 Free Speech TV face masks or the Wilmington on Fire DVD, an extraordinary documentary about the 1898 attack on African Americans in North Carolina. With a $120 gift, there is my book, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy. This is the most recent of the books. This is the one that is like, waving the bloody shirt, blowing the fireworks in the air about the danger that Trumpism and the Republican Party right now represent to the fate and future of democracy in the United States and around the world. It's a really important book. And I encourage you with a $120 gift to get that book, and it'll be autographed by me. Or you can get the Free Speech TV Justice t-shirt, stylishly designed by viewer Barry. Thank you, Barry. With a $240 gift, you get the 2-book set, the Reclaim Our Democracy book set, The Hidden History of Oligarchy, which I just mentioned, and The Hidden History of Monopolies, which is how our economics got so screwed up. So you've got politics and economics. Or you can join me on a virtual meet and greet, a Zoom call where we all get together. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Summer Box Set with the bumper sticker, the University bumper sticker, the Free Speech bumper sticker, the Pride sticker, the Real Change tote bag, the Wilmington on Fire DVD, and the Thom Hartmann program mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and hang out with us, and I'll buy you lunch. There's a little restaurant down the street. We always go there, and it's very nice. It's got a nice view and pretty reasonable food, actually, of all kinds. Bottom line, call now, 877-378-8669. If you haven't yet called Free Speech TV, please pitch in now. Give them a call, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. Hey, we have a new video over at TomHartmann.com. It's about this movement that has, it's being characterized in the media as being just, fringe wackadoodles, crazy people on YouTube, stuff like that, who are talking about how Democrats are torturing children to get the adrenochrome out of them, and Hillary Clinton is eating babies, and the ship in the Suez Canal, and how, and the really interesting one now, how if you get the vaccine for COVID, that it will change your race. Yes, something that will make white people absolutely hysterical. The problem is, this isn't just the Flat Earth Society. These aren't the people that we used to laugh at. This isn't just a few crazies on the edge. They just had a convention in Oklahoma. A serious convention where they were calling for Democrats to be put in front of a firing squad and shot. You need to check this out. It's over at TomHartman.com. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And here we've got Rudy Giuliani's call to Ukraine. I don't know if you caught this, but CNN has released the full video, the full 40 minutes of it. And Giuliani was doing the same thing that Trump was impeached for. And this was 3 days before Trump's call to Zelensky? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Giuliani, all we need for the president to say, he's talking about Zelensky, is I'm going to put an honest prosecutor in charge, and he's going to dig up the evidence that presently exists about the 2016 election. And then the Biden thing has to be run out. Somebody in Ukraine's got to take that seriously. That was the quid. To make a quid pro quo, though, there has to be a quo. In other words, this for that, right? Quid and quo. He says, Rudy Giuliani, I think it would make it possible, if you did this, of course, for me to come and make it possible for me to talk to the president and see what I can do to make sure that whatever misunderstandings there are put aside. Because this was when Ukraine was, basically under attack from Russia and looking for some military help from the United States. And Trump and Giuliani were like, oh, you want military help? Well, maybe we could help, but, I want something from you, too. It's amazing. Anyhow, Sandra in Omaha, Nebraska. Sandra, thank you for the call. What's on your mind today?
Oh, I was just thinking earlier this morning when I heard a caller call in that if the Democrats can figure out how to make or how to work with Republicans successfully and actually get something done, maybe other countries like Syria and Egypt and India will learn the techniques so that they can deal with their own Taliban, their terrorist groups, because that's basically what we're dealing with. So I just kind of... I would argue the opposite, Sandra.
I would argue that you don't engage with terrorists. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You do, you work around them or you work against them. And in my opinion, I'm not going to call the Republican Party a terrorist party, but there is a terrorist faction within the Republican Party. And it's large and it's growing. And they are openly terrorists. They've been called terrorists by the FBI and domestic terrorists. And so I think that...
Well, they proved that by attacking the Capitol.
Yeah, Biden has been negotiating, the infrastructure bill and other things with the Republicans for 6 months now and gotten nothing out of them. He didn't get a single vote from them on the American Rescue Plan, the COVID Rescue Plan, which has worked out very well. He is not going to get a single vote from them on anything, and it's time, in my opinion, for this administration not just to fire the Social Security administrator and his number two, but to simply stop talking to Republicans. I don't think anybody in America will mind. I really don't. I don't even think Republicans will mind as long as they start getting things done. But if they can't get things done, you're going to start seeing Democrats lose elections in big ways because the Republicans will be campaigning on the fact that there's gridlock. There was gridlock. Oh my God! I mean, that was the big attack on Obama. There's gridlock. Well, yeah, you created the gridlock. Sandra, I have to move along, but spot on. Thank you for the call. Sheila in Lincoln Woods, Illinois. Hey, Sheila, what's on your mind today?
Hello. Yeah, you basically just said what I was going to say, that the Democrats are too busy trying to make friends with the Republicans who have no intentions of voting on anything we want.
Yes.
You were talking about Social Security, that we need to send them some money or something. And if they get it, because Trump people are in charge of it, that they're not going to use it the way it's supposed to be used.
Right.
So I say Democrats should be obstructionists. Don't send the money. Don't give it to them.
Well, this is something that the administration will have to. There is a pool of money that Social Security has, and that was one of the questions I probably should have done a little deeper dive with Alex. Is exactly what does the administrator of Social Security want these millions of dollars for? Alex implied strongly that it was to start privatizing Social Security. But I should have dug into the details. But I think your point is really well taken, and this is where we need to be leaning on Biden. And I thought it was fascinating that President Biden's chief of staff is very active on Twitter and reads his Twitter account. I mean, this is a whole that just opened a whole new world of activism to me.
Right. And Tom, can I say one more thing?
Please.
Yesterday, you had somebody on there who called and said that the reason people believe, or the people who believe in Q, are Christians, people who believe in God. And I just wanted to say that everybody I know is a Christian. I mean, I know people of other religions, but every Christian I know would never believe in anything like Q.
Well, what I said was that they were evangelical Christians, and in fact, I should add the word white to the beginning of that, because the white evangelical church has stood alone since the 60s. And and you saw this split in the Baptist convention as well. They have stood alone around issues of race, but the evangelical, the hard fringe of the evangelical community believes that we are living in the last times, that the rapture is going to come any day now. The rapture, by the way, is something that wasn't even part of Christianity until the late 19th century.
Christians believe in the rapture. They do, but we don't know when it's going to happen. But I'm saying that, the lady was saying, oh, yeah, God is authoritarian, and he's not. God is not authoritarian. God lets you make your own decision. You decide, and that because we're gullible and we believe stuff easily. And I just wanted to say that that's not true.
And that's your truth, and that's your God, and mine too, to a large extent. But you can use the Bible any which way you want, as I'm sure you know.
And
Sheila.
they do, and they do. Right? People will pick a certain part of a verse, and women are supposed to submit to men. They don't read the rest of it that talks about what men are supposed to do. So yeah, people use it to their benefit to fit their narrative. But
right.
So that's what I had to say.
And you said it very well. Sheila, thank you very much for the call. It's nice to hear from you. I appreciate it. Mark in Atwood, Kansas. Mark, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, I was just calling in response to something you had mentioned earlier about interactions with Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. And I actually recently had one as of early as last night.
Whoa.
Where he was telling me about August and Trump's coming back in August and all this. And I reminded him, Electoral College, popular vote. No, he's not. His only rebuttal and argument, and he literally started screaming at me, was Hunter Biden and the laptop.
Whoa.
And that's all he had.
Is this a relative or a friend or just somebody that you had a casual encounter with?
It's actually a co-worker, and we were traveling home from a project.
Oh, my.
And the remaining 2 hours in the vehicle, he did not say another word.
Oh, that's got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but that's really all they have now. I mean, they've got no backbone to any of their arguments.
Yeah, so it seems. And it's a real unfortunate thing, too, that they are so completely brainwashed by right-wing media and right-wing hate radio. It is just a tragedy. Thanks for sharing your story with us. And thanks for listening to SiriusXM. It's 44 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann program. Speaking the truth, the multinational corporations and the right-wing billionaires who really prefer that you don't know all about. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with your calls on the other side of the stick. Welcome back. Jason in Homestead, Florida. Hey, Jason, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Hey, it's been a long time. Hi, Tom.
Hey.
I'm calling I was going to say about the person at 12:55 p.m. who called in, and I was going to agree with him, but then I heard the rest of the people afterwards, and I agree with them.
Are you talking about punching back on bullies?
Yeah. Well, punching back on political actors as well, you know.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. All the whole spectrum that fits into is that I totally disagree with that. I mean, and my last Friday call when I talked to you, I used the wrong word, safety, making them unsafe. In other words, I was trying to say feel unsafe in their lives, the people that are acting wrong, but in the political spectrum. But what I really mean is that you have to make them uncomfortable, or they won't listen to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No change will actually happen. And I've been in a lot of activist groups where they have people that just don't want to do that, just want to stand there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can't just, stand there to make people uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
There are two.
And I've been in a lot of, I'm sorry, Tom, to cut you off, but I've been in a lot of activism outside of my own community, which is mostly white, wealthy, and rural, and agricultural. And there's only been 5 protests since I've lived here, period. Mm-hmm. And that's another problem is that, if you want to make people uncomfortable, you have to go to where they live. You have to go to where not just their business is at. You have to go to those communities. You can't just go to City Hall, just go to political powers all the time. And I've talked to a lot of activist groups that that's all they want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not reaching people that I live with.
You really aren't. Basically, there are two, and thank you, Jason, for the call.
Sure.
There are two things that motivate people. We are all always either moving toward pleasure or moving away from pain. And I think a holistic motivation strategy includes both. Joe Manchin, if you go along with us, you will get this, and if you don't go along with us, you will get that. And the this is pleasurable, and the that is painful. And not to pick on Joe Manchin, but that's really where it has to go. Helena in Vancouver, Washington. Hey, Helena, you're right across the river. What's up?
Yes, hi Tom. Thank you for taking my call. I believe the Democratic Party has access to top psychologists, psychiatrists, sociologists. There is no secret on how to deal with bullies. Methods that work with bullies are known to us, for years, and just for some reason, our party is not fully embracing that. And you have to confront bullies without any room of, for excuse or acceptance of their destructive behavior, or they will keep continue.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and that's why I said you have to set limits, and when they engage in destructive behavior, there has to be a consequence.
And sometimes it's not with the violence, other listeners. Before I went to the refugee camp, my partner and I were working 14 hours a day in a factory, and the league would belittle workers in a horrible way, calling us Polish swine, etc. It was not until my partner stood up to him very firmly and right into his face and confronted him that from that point on, everything changed.
Yeah, is standing up is the key to it all. Helena, thank you. Share the Thom Hartmann program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann program. So a while ago at Davos, Michael Dell, the computer billionaire who started out selling computers out of his dorm room in college. I was running CompuServe forums back in the day. This is in the late 70s or the early 80s, and he was selling them on CompuServe in my forums. And, now he's worth billions. And somebody asked him, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is proposing a 70% tax bracket for people who make the kind of money you make. What do you think of that? And his response was, a 70% tax rate? Name a country where that ever worked. Ever. And it turns out there is such a country, and apparently Michael Dell didn't know this. I think a lot of Americans don't know this, that there was a country that had its greatest period of prosperity in its entire history with a top tax rate that was above 70%. In fact, it hit 90% for more than half the time. And that was the United States of America. It's a new video over at TomHartman.com. Welcome back. Janae in Alexandria, Virginia. Hey, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. Sure. I just wanted to let you know that I did listen to a comment that Julie made in regards to the PRO Act and about Mark Warner. Mm-hmm. So every Wednesday, the union sits outside of his home in silence and kind of protests. And on Saturday, we're having a protest for rally for the PRO Act, which will be in Crystal City, near the water park here in Crystal City, Virginia. And as you know, it's right not too far from the big old Amazon, mm-hmm. which is building their big facility there. And I just happened to do a little bit of research and see that Amazon executives did give money to Mark Warner. So I was like, oh, boy, it's always a fight. I just wish the dark money. It's just a continuous fight.
Ever since the Supreme Court legalized this kind of political corruption and then doubled down, that was in 76, 78, and then doubled down on it in 2010 with Citizens United, and then doubled down on that in 2013 with McCutcheon. Ever since this series of Supreme Court decisions, they basically handed our democracy over to the wealthy, and whether it's the corporate wealthy or whether it's the individual billionaire wealthy. And it's an absolute flaming tragedy. The Supreme Court, and this was when the Supreme Court only had 5 right-wing whack jobs on it. Now they have 6. We have a big challenge here. We've got a lot of work to do, and we can't, at this point, afford to get discouraged or sit back or take it easy. It's time to fight.
Yes, I agree with you. So hopefully the rally from 10:30 to 12:30, a lot of union representatives will be there. I'll be there myself and speakers, and then we can just...
Is there a website for that?
The website, there's not a website for it, actually, but it is on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Would somebody find it on Facebook?
Yep.
How would they find it on Facebook?
You would just say... here it is, Senator Warner support for VA workers.
Okay. And that's,
you should be able to find it.
Okay, great. Yeah. Great. Janae, thank you.
I'll send you the link.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great talking with you. I appreciate it. Bruce in Nicollet, Minnesota. Hey, Bruce, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, how you doing today?
I'm great, but I'll get better. How about you, Bruce?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm above ground and sucking air, so that's not
Step
bad.
one.
It's a good start. Hey, you talk about how do you talk to people that are bought into that whole thing about Trump and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of just watching and listening. Some of them will really ride in the crazy train, and you try and deal with the ones that you can talk with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I live in an area here with a lot of good rural folks, and they're conservative, they're Republican, they're good, hard-working people. But they kind of bought into that whole thing.
Yeah.
Now they're kind of in a daze between point A and point B. My mom, 95 years old, I take care of her. She's voted Republican all of her life, but she never heard that thing on the bus about Trump saying he, grabbing women by the privates.
Right.
She didn't like that. And she's still a conservative. She didn't know what to do. I says, well, Mom, what do you want to do? Well, I don't want to abandon my... who would you vote for? Well, I'd vote for Mitt Romney. I said, well, then, Ma, you know what to do. Just write him in.
Yeah.
And she wrote in Romney.
Yeah.
And she loves Bernie.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing, Bruce, is that so many conservatives. I mean, I've told the story a million times. During the primary in 2016, I was living in a marina in Washington D.C. at the Capitol Yacht Club, and I knew a bunch of guys in the military, and they, you might consider them very conservative, who had never voted for a Democrat in their lives. And they were all gung-ho about Bernie. And it wasn't that they hated Hillary. It was that he was saying, you all are being screwed. It's like it's time to take, it was basically, progressive populist talk. And Donald Trump appropriated that. Trump came out and said, oh, yeah, you're all being screwed. And it's the big corporations and then et cetera, et cetera. And we have to do something about it. So that, sadly, they voted for Bernie in the primary and then they voted for Trump. It's a bad deal, bud. It is, but that's what it is. Bruce, I have to move along, but thank you for the call. It's great to hear from you. Mike in Dickinson, North Dakota. Hey, Mike, what's on your mind today?
Oh, hello, Tom. Regarding the CNN Rudy Giuliani audio, to me, the real story is not confirmation of a quid pro quo, because any person understands and knew that. Instead, what fascinates me is how CNN got it. I mean, is this from the Ukraine, or is this from the FBI that seized Giuliani's devices? What do you think?
I am guessing that this would be most likely a leak out of the Justice Department, but I honestly have no idea. I'm guessing that the Justice Department is furiously trying to figure it out. But yeah, it could have come out of Ukraine as well, because it was an international call, and I'm sure that they're recording these calls. This was 3 days before Trump's too. So in any case, but I just don't know, and I'll have to leave it at that. Mike, thank you for the call. Betty Lou in Sierra Vista, Arizona. Hey, Betty Lou, what's on your mind? We have Betty Lou, we just have a half a minute. Do you have a quick point you want to make?
Yes, just real quick. Here in Sierra Vista, they're having a truck and car rally in celebration of Trump's birthday on June 14th, beginning at the Republican headquarters, where they still have a picture of Trump in the window.
Oh, geez. So are counter-protesters going to be there?
I don't know. I suggested that people look for armed people, sedition talk and such. And if there's anything like that, they should call the FBI.
It's going to be Crazy Train all over again. Betty Lou, thank you for the call. Thanks for the heads up. Thank you for being with us today, and for sharing the good news about this program. Increasingly, I'm catching from new listeners and new viewers that my friend told me about your program. Thank you for that. And get out there, get active. Hey, democracy needs you. Tag you're it. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit ThomHartmann.com.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info is available at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. EasyFlow, personal air filtration system. Fresh air anywhere. More info at easyflowusa.com, code TOM. Masterclass with world-class instructors. More info at masterclass.com/Hartman. And Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com.